get to the library themselves. And this fall and spring, we've also been able to add outreach tech support. So this is going to places like Spring Win and the Epson Center, where our staff are able to offer people support with their Kindles and laptops and printers and all of those things. The smaller portion of this funding is to cover the cost of our internet service at the Laramie branch. For folks in our Laramie community that can't afford internet, they don't have a computer, they don't have a printer, the library and the public technology available there is a way, as an essential role of connecting them to a broader world. And then finally, the last piece of our funding is a request for some bridge funding to support the Albany County Early Development Coalition, or ACED. ACED is currently in our startup phase. Our first public event is going to be April 1st. This is a coalition of organizations that support kids ages 0 to 5 and their caregivers. We're working to connect all of those organizations together, and then to also help families connect to all of those resources in Albany County. We are currently funded through county ARPA funds. Those funds will carry us through the end of the calendar year, and so what we're asking for community partnership is $6,000 to help us bridge the gap to the end of the fiscal year to June 2024. The public library truly is a team effort. We're so grateful for the support that the city provides every year, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about any of those things.
Thank you. Commissioners, council, any questions? Fantastic. Well, thank you, and thank you for your brevity.
Thanks.
And if you'll all forgive me, I should have gone to public comment before we began, so I will just open the floor for public comment at this point. I'm a little out of order, but so long as everyone's flexible, I'm going to go there. So any members of the public wishing to speak can come forward on any item. Okay, seeing none, we're going to close the public comment period. We are back in it, Albany County Safe Project. And folks, if you have a presentation, I should have mentioned this at the start, if you have a presentation, you'll just need to let the city clerk know when to advance the slide. There's a PFD tech issue. Maybe we can reach out to the library for some assistance, but there is a tech issue. Just have the city clerk advance your slides.
All right. My name is Genevieve Riley. I'm the assistant director at SAFE Project. I've been with SAFE since early 2009 in an administrative capacity, and I was the financial manager until recently. In January, I moved up, and also we hired a new executive director. Her name is Amy Hafner. I'm sad that she could not be here tonight to meet all of you, but she has been with SAFE since 2018 as an advocate and prevention coordinator, and started as the director in January. SAFE Project serves the community as the only advocacy agency for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking in Albany County. We help make the community a better place by working with what's worked out to over 400 unduplicated individuals in recent years. We provide safety and services to women, men, children, and pets. We also have a campus services coordinator satellite position at the University of Wyoming. They work with college students, not just at UW, but also at Wyotech, the Albany County campus of LCCC. And then in the local schools, the lower ages, the preschool through the high school, we have a prevention education coordinator who works with them on, works with the kids there on healthy relationships, healthy families, teen dating, violence. Historically, we've relied on community partner funding for operating and program expenses for the shelter, mainly also the office, the client services, as well as administrative time for grant writing and fundraising. And these funds have allowed us to apply for grants, pay for supplies, and the time of staff for fundraisers. Our biggest event is the Brunch and Bubbly, which we're having the last Sunday in August this year. We also send a year-end appeal, and as of last year, we now participate in Wild Gives Day, so we're working to really bring in as much funding as possible. Community partner funding helps make it possible to collaborate with other agencies and help our clients on levels beyond direct services, including hosting meetings with the sexual assault response team, which helps which brings a bunch of community partners together to work to serve and protect the community more effectively and deal with response to sexual assault in the community. We lost a position that was federally funded a couple years ago. It's been challenging for staff because since that time, our numbers have continued to rise, because we weren't serving 400 people before. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's gone over that since then. And that's another reason we rely on community partner funds. This year, we're asking for more money, a little bit more money, because we are in the process as of last month of making major repairs of our shelter. We're putting in floors, we're replacing the hollow doors with solid doors, and fixing a lot of damage, and just fixing things that have deteriorated over time, and with pets and kids and lots of people coming and going. So because of that, we know that we're going to be struggling in our operating and program funds, and so we're asking for extra community partner funds to help with those expenses. So we appreciate you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Commissioners, councilors, any questions?
I just have one clarifying question. So in the expense, is this going to...
Sorry to interrupt, Councilor. Can you have a microphone on, please? We have to share them maybe a little, but...
Oh, thank you. Just to clarify, so are is the request going to both staffing and for the improvements needed to facilities?
We're not looking for the improvements to the facilities. We're looking to do operating funds.
Okay,
We're getting other funding for
Great, thank you.
those improvements. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions? Councilor Doherty?
Ms. Riley, thank you, and thanks for all the work you do. Are you coordinating with our police chief and on some of this? I remember the prevention part of trying to keep people safe and teaching young people about what's permission and not. I was wondering if that's in coordination with.
We do. We work with the police department. We bring new officers in periodically to work, to tell them about our services and talk to them about what we do. We just had one in like last week. And then I think that I'm assuming that the Laramie Police Department is part of SART, which we are also part of. And then we also work with the Sheriff's Department, and our campus person works with the University Police. And we're all in meetings with all of them.
Thank you.
Monthly, I would say.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Genevieve.
Thanks.
Moving on, ARC Regional Services. Welcome.
Hi, thank you all. My name is Bob Sell. I'm the CEO at ARC Regional Services. And let's see if we can cover ARC in 5 minutes or less. At ARC, we provide support and assistance for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities so that they can be active members of our community. We do that with a number of different programs. We have a comprehensive education program that provides skill development for people during the day. Everything from your activities of daily living to communication skills, behavioral skills, to real specific job skills like time management, managing money, interpersonal communications, things like that. Our comprehensive education program is broken into a number of areas. We have a rather well-known fine and performing arts program that's housed at the Cooper Center for Creative Arts, and we use the arts to teach a lot of those daily living skills. It's also an opportunity for people to give back to our community through the arts in our cultural program. We also have a general education program that provides everything from math, science, language arts, literacy, book clubs, just a comprehensive education for people. And all of those services are geared towards vocational skills and helping people develop job skills so that they can be employed in our community. We also operate the ARC Equestrian Center, which is both a therapeutic center but also educationally based, so people are still learning job skills, communication skills, team building, and things like that. So everything within the day is really focused on education and skill development. We also have an employment program where we help people get jobs as part of our community so that they can be competitively employed and more give back to their community and learn the importance of employment and having a job. Our largest program is our residential program, and that's broken into 2 different categories. We have independent living, which we support people in their home anywhere from 2 up to maybe 8, 10 hours a day, depending on the needs of the individual and how much money they have in their funding to pay for services. So those needs are really specific based on need. Then we have our largest program, which is a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week group homes that are staffed all the time, and that is our largest program. We have 95 individuals that we support on the Medicaid waiver. That isn't the total number of people we support. We have a lot of contracts with Albany County School District, but those are the waiver services that we provide. Most of those 95 people, though, receive services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from ARC. The biggest number for you, I think, is that ARC provides over 20,000 hours of direct care every month, for a total of 240,000 hours a year, primarily through those 24-hour-a-day services that we provide for people. Services are provided by 180 employees. We employ 150 direct support professionals who do the work every single day. They are the backbone of what we do. Then we have 10 individuals who I like to put in the category of direct support professional supervisors, provide that oversight and supervision of all of those DSPs, and about a 20-person administrative staff. They cover everything from finance to compliance to HR to facilities maintenance, health services in that area. We provide a service for people, and then we bill for that service to Medicaid, and they reimburse us. There's where the problem is. The Medicaid reimbursement rate is significantly lower than it needs to be. We are underfunded, and that is our biggest challenge. The reimbursement rate has to cover everything from direct support professional wages and benefits to all training that we provide people, including over 25 hours of certifications, from behavior management to CPR first aid to medications management, and all the safety regulations we have. It has to cover all administrative costs, finance, HR, compliance, facilities maintenance. To provide a Medicaid service, we also have to provide transportation for people if we're billing for a service, and that's extremely expensive, as you all know. Coordinating their health care, medication management, and all of the oversight that we have to have. Community services work. I'm not dogging on them. I think they're great. I think that they are the most efficient way to provide services. They are the best for quality of life. They are cheaper than institutions. They're cheaper than nursing homes. But they are underfunded, and that's where our issues are. The biggest challenge we face is maintaining a staffing level appropriate for the needs of the people that we support. People that we hire, direct support professionals, are required to be experts in a variety of areas, everywhere from health and safety needs of individuals to performing direct care hygiene tasks, keeping people safe in their community, managing their money and their financial obligations. They have to be experts in de-escalation techniques and managing challenging behavior that includes everything up and including physical aggression. They have to be experts in mental health. They have to be experts in trauma and what trauma does to behavior. They have to be experts in negotiating complex relationships, in different communication styles. They have to be experts in being a part of a community and getting people involved in the community. And all those direct support professionals have to do that for a starting wage of $14 an hour. And that's where our challenges are. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you. Commissioners, council members, any questions? Yeah, Commissioner Bell.
Since last time you spoke in front of us, have you expanded employment, gotten other companies or stores or whatever to take
Yeah, I don't know my statistics on employment. We do have about 20 people who are actively employed in our community. A lot are employed in food service, and that's sort of where people are being hired. We do have some folks that do some light janitorial work. We have people who do shredding and other office work. I don't know if I've expanded to other employers yet, but certainly they come and go as people come and go, and the needs of our individuals. The hardest part of our employment program isn't actually getting people to get a job, it's getting an employer that'll commit to hiring them. Right. And so we spend a lot of time, as you heard, developing the job skills to make somebody so that we're not going out into a community and saying, hire this person out of the kindness of your heart, hire them because they can actually do something for you. And so we focus a lot of energy there now, because a lot of, as we've seen, employers are a little more, they have real specific needs that they have for people, and not a lot of our employers in town can just hire somebody out of the goodness of their heart.
And what kind of agreements do you have with these employers?
Oh, there will be a contract that we will sign that'll go through ARC, and so that we do a lot of this through the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. DVR pays us to provide the job coaching, and then the client will get paid by the employer as a typical employee.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Yep, no problem. What else can I tell you?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
All right, Big Brothers Big Sisters is next. Come on up. Welcome.
Good evening, commissioners and council members. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm Hannah Esslinger, and I am the Community Relations Officer for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Wyoming. I think many of you are familiar with our programming, but just in case you're not, we provide youth mentoring services, and our mission is to create and support mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. We know that every child is capable of doing incredible things. Sometimes all they need to get over those hurdles is just having that person in their corner who's rooting them on, who believes that they are capable of doing those things too. So in service of that goal, we operate several different programs here in Albany County. We have our one-to-one mentoring, which is what most people think of when they think of Big Brothers Big Sisters, where we have an adult volunteer matched with a youth in the community, and we match based on interests, personalities. We want to make sure that they have a good, solid foundation to grow that relationship on, and they are supported professionally by our staff throughout their time with the organization. We also have after-school programming that takes place at Slade, Spring Creek, and Linford, as well as programming for middle schoolers and high schoolers that is at our facility, and those run Monday through Thursday after school till about 5:30 for the elementary schools and about 7 for the high schoolers. And we also have juvenile justice programming that we operate in partnership with the county attorney's office on a restorative justice model that helps kids who have had some sort of law enforcement contact kind of get back on track, make any amends that they need to make, take accountability for their actions, and also helps them with things like job skills, life skills, homework skills, make sure that they have the support they need to make better decisions moving forward and keep them out of the court system in the process. So over those programs, last year we served just over 400 youth in the community. We use the support of the community partners to provide those mentoring services to youth, as well as to support their families through whatever challenges they may be facing. We do a lot of gap work, a lot of resource connection. Because we're working one-on-one with all of the children and the families, we're really able to kind of tailor our approach to meet their needs and to set goals that will be meaningful for them and their families, and to address anything that they're dealing with when they come in, as well as throughout their time with the organization, and helping them find any additional resources or services that they may need. So that's through direct support, trainings, resource referral. We have about an additional 1,300 or so family members that we are working with in the community on a yearly basis. Like many of the nonprofits in this community, we've seen an increase both in the number of people who are looking for support services, as well as the level of support that those families are needing. Oh, it didn't, okay. I was like, I didn't think. So we have seen an increase in the level of support that families are reaching out for, and also that the schools are reaching out for. They've got kids who have been through a lot, as we all have over the past few years, and are having some trouble kind of reintegrating and finding their footing after such an enormous disruption. About 15% of the kids that we work with have an ACEs score, an Adverse Childhood Experience score of 2 or higher. About 17% have a formal mental health diagnosis. About a quarter of them are at risk for involvement or are already involved in the juvenile justice system. About half of them meet the standards for federal poverty levels, and about half of them live in single-parent, foster parent, or grandparent-run households. So they have additional challenges with things like supervision or availability or financial stability, just all sorts of kind of across-the-board challenges that they may be dealing with. And teachers have been reaching out to us. Their families that they're working with are struggling to provide the necessary support for the things that we've been facing over the last couple years. So we're seeing more people and higher needs, kind of both at the same time. And the support we receive from community partners really helps us fill some of those gaps in being able to provide those services for the community. We know that kids in formal mentoring relationships are more engaged in the classroom. They're more likely to take on new challenges in the classroom and be more open to academics. They tend to get along better with their peers and their families. They have higher levels of support. They're more invested in their communities. They're less likely to abuse substances or engage in any violent behavior. They have improved attitudes towards avoiding risky behavior. And they are more likely to develop positive physical and mental health habits that extend then into adulthood as well. 54% of our kids showed a decrease in depressive symptoms from being in programming from when they started. And most importantly, kind of in tying back to our mission, is they have higher levels of self-actualization and believe that they're capable of doing the things that matter to them. So they set bigger, better goals for themselves and their futures, and they believe that they're going to be able to achieve those goals. And research tells us that the #1 predictor in whether a child develops the resilience they need to overcome challenges is if they have a caring adult in their life. 98% of our kids are reporting that they do have a trusted adult in their life that they can go to. So it's a huge impact in a whole variety of different challenges or obstacles that may be facing them. We're very lucky to live in a community that values its young people, invests in its young people, and makes sure that they have the support that they need to be successful. This is local people helping local youth, so it really is a community effort. And we know that one of the best ways that we can develop strong communities is to invest in the young people and in their future. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, councilors, any questions?
I have a question, Hannah. Do you have enough mentor volunteers to meet the need?
We are always looking for more. We are always looking for additional volunteers, and with the increase in numbers, we definitely are always on the lookout for qualified mentors and people who will be able to provide that support. So.
And how do you reach out to the community for those mentors? How do you advertise? Or
We have staff who focus on recruitment as main part of their goal. We do community presentations. We try to be at all of the community events with booths and things like that. We do advertising in the newspapers, and I don't know if you've seen our billboard coming in off of I-80. We do radio spots. We do events. We're really kind of all over the place. We are on campus. We work with our local community partners directly to try to bridge some of those gaps and things. So we are open to, lots of different opportunities. Our volunteers range from high schoolers to, we have a volunteer who is in his 90s. So that's a really wide demographic to be reaching out to. So we try to kind of check a lot of boxes in our approach to making sure that people know what we're out there doing.
And do you try to match just one-to-one?
For
one
the-
mentor
yeah.
doesn't have another youth.
Correct. For the one-to-one mentoring, it is one volunteer with one youth, and we try to match them based on interests and personalities, so they have stuff in common to kind of grow that relationship on.
Thank you, Hannah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Next up is Climb Wyoming. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. This is my first one of these in person, so I'm so glad to be with you. I've been to these on Zoom for 2 years, so just really glad to be with you in person. My name is Tess Snow, and I'm the Laramie Program Director the Program Director for the Laramie site of Climb, Wyoming. And our mission is for low-income single moms to discover self-sufficiency through career training and job placement. Everything we do as an organization is about the moms, for the moms, driven by the moms and their needs, and I'm really proud to say that. And so that affects everything that we do as an organization. I really want to just share some of our really strong statistics with you. Since the opening of the Laramie site in 2004, we have served over 330 local moms in our program and over 600 children. And so that's just our job training programs that we do twice a year. And so that's a significant amount of people in Laramie. When moms come to the program, they're coming to us with an average about $1,400 a month for her and her kids. And then our data shows that 6 months after program, their wages average about $3,500 per month. And so she's doubling, sometimes even tripling her income. And so we're just really proud of that. And that means the moms are able to then invest back into the Laramie community. So we're just really, really happy to share that. We are committed to finding gaps in Laramie's workforce and basing our trainings off of those gaps so that we're providing trainings where the jobs are needed to support the economy and to support the sustainability of Laramie. And just for example, our last program, we just graduated 12 out of 12 moms with medical assistant and medical administrative assistant certifications. And so their wage increases are about 146%. So we're really, we're really grateful to continue this work and to connect with you all. We really can't do this work without the support of the county and the city. And so, I'm excited to share that with you. It's no secret that mental health needs have risen since the pandemic and continue to rise after that, and we're really proud to say that we're a mental health-based organization. We know that there's so much more to our moms and really anyone to getting a job than just training and being able to fill a warm body, and so we really proud to share that we're a mental health-based organization and we continue to support our moms in that, and we also share our expertise and that the therapeutic approach drives everything that we do. Lastly, I just really want to thank all of you for being here. I know this is your time, your personal time, and we really can't do this work without your support. I could talk about Climb all day, and I'm happy to answer any questions. If there's anything that I can answer on an individual basis, I'm happy to make time for that as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, council members, any questions now? Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Developmental Preschool and Daycare Center. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emily Hirsch. I'm the business manager for the Developmental Preschool and Daycare Center. We provide services for children from birth to age 5 who have a need for assistance with disabilities. And we are asking for $5,000 from the county and $5,000 from the city. This is part of our community match fundraising goal. We are a state agency and we receive a large amount of our funding from the state of Wyoming, and the state asks us to be members of our communities and to ask for some of our funding from the communities in which we serve. We are currently serving over 193 children with developmental disabilities. We've seen a significant increase in the number of children between the ages of birth to age 3 who have never been around other children before because of COVID-19, and so they need a little bit more help, and there's a big increase in those needs. The funding that we are asking for from the city and the county is to offset the salaries for the staff who are providing services to those children. In addition to what we do for kids with disability, we also have a daycare that has 190 children enrolled in the daycare right now. There's some overlap. I'd say there's probably about 33% overlap between the kids that we serve on one side who are enrolled in the daycare. I want to keep it short and sweet because I know that you are hearing a lot of presentations today. Do you have any questions that I can answer about our presentation?
Commissioners, council members, any questions? Chairman Gosar.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Harrington. Emily, what's your greatest need at daycare and the developmental preschool?
I would say our greatest need is a stable workforce. We have, like many businesses within the community, we are struggling to hire and retain qualified therapists, daycare employees, things along those lines. It has gotten better in the last 12 months. We've spent a lot of time focusing on training and onboarding and support of our frontline staff, our daycare workers. But that's probably our biggest struggle right now is we compete for the same employees that the school district hires, that the hospital hires, that the nursing home hires, and there's a limited number of people who want to be occupational therapists. So, is there anything else I can answer for you guys?
And just to follow up.
Sure, of course.
And then do you set your salaries, or is that set by the state?
We set our own salaries in order to be competitive with the school districts. We try to get as close to what the school districts pay. We cannot match them for benefits, but we do what we can. So, does that help you?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Yeah, you as well. Epson Center for Seniors is up next. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Harrington, Vice Mayor Coombe, council members, commissioners. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight and for listening to all of us be passionate about the causes that are important to us. I'm here, of course, representing the Epson Center for Seniors, and I wanted to share some kind of really exciting things that have happened to us in the past, couple of years, actually, and that's that our numbers of our meals that we're serving to people have grown exponentially. We did 11,000 more meals this year, and when I talk about year, this is FY22, so it ended at the end of September. But yeah, 11,000 more, and then 14,000 more than FY20. So our home delivered meal program has been phenomenon. We're working very closely with LIV, the hospital, other agencies in town to ensure that we're, finding those people who need that additional help and making sure that folks have access to that food, whether they can pay for that food or not, whether they're a Medicaid waiver client or just somebody that's down on their luck and actually, just could really use some good food and nutrition. And so I have been with the Epson Center now for just over 6 years. And so I started to pull some numbers because it's like, it really seems like things, got crazy weird with COVID. But in looking at our numbers over the past 6 years, we have doubled the number, nearly doubled. So FY 2016, we did 24,000 meals, and this past year we did almost 48,000. And so in looking at those increases, and it's been a steady increase, even with COVID, we were able to open a takeout program, which again, expanded the services because the state didn't allow that before. And our home delivered meal program also boomed because people were, scared to be out and not feeling well and all of that. And so we've retained, most of those folks, which is an amazing adventure as far as that has gone. And so I think that that's one of the things that I'm the most proud of the center for the last fiscal year. We also provided 7,000 rides to the community, and what those rides consist of are medical rides. We do dialysis rides Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We take all kinds of seniors now to different types of appointments. We also have public service that we offer for folks who are needing to get to a service, as well as service for disabled here in town. And so those numbers, again, nearly 7,000 rides last year, and that has slowly crept back up because with COVID, we were down to, about 4,000 rides. And so we've been blessed with amazing staff, and knock on wood, I shouldn't even say anything. But we've been really lucky and able to retain people. I work really hard on making sure the environment is awesome, because in nonprofit, obviously the salaries aren't great. We have no insurance, but we do, if you work over 24 hours, have to belong to Wyoming Retirement, which is a good thing / bad thing. And so those employees, we offer almost 10%, and then they offer almost 10%. So when you're looking at those kind of things, but we have, good PTO and things like that, and we've been lucky. So I feel like celebrating the fact that we've been able to maintain and really increase our programs has been an amazing feat, all while trying to keep our staff healthy. We had a total of 3 weeks off where the staff had COVID 2 different times, and so that was a challenge once last year as well. And so our goals for next year are really just increasing those individual numbers of clients that we're seeing. So right now we had about 1,600 individual over 60 clients, and that's a good 30% of the people over that age in Albany County. It may even be more. So I'm trying to figure out where you get those statistics, because the census starts at 65 and we start at 60. So I have to kind of look into that a little bit more, but it's pretty amazing to see the number of people that we're actually touching with our services individually. Our goal is also to bring them back more times. So if we have people that are less than 10, we're focusing on reaching out to those folks. Come in for a meal, come in for an activity, and just doing a lot of phone work and getting in touch with people and having a good time while we're doing it. I think that that's really important. We celebrated a 97th birthday today, which is always amazing in any way you look at it. And so I just want to thank you guys so much for the support that we get from the community, and let you know how much it really helps us to offset the grants that we get, and shows that the City of Laramie and the County of Albany are behind the services that we provide here in Albany County. So thank you very much. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you. Councilor Gabriel.
Thank you, Mayor. Tammy, I was just curious, I know in the past you talked about all the transportation that you're engaged in.
Yes.
That gasoline was a big concern.
Humongous
How is that
concern.
right now?
So it's not as bad right now, but we've come closer to expending all of our county funds than we have in probably the last 3 or 4 years, simply because of COVID, and then gas was a little bit less expensive. But now that it's gone up, we've gone through, I think, maybe even more than half of it, and have till the end of June. In fact, it might even be more than that, because we've gone through another month now, and I haven't reviewed those numbers. But yeah, so helpful to have that fuel, and saved us to be able to get rides to those folks, because yeah, nobody wants to pay $5 a gallon when you're getting 7 in the city, So, sure. Anything else, you guys?
Councilor Richardson.
Have a question. Sorry. And wondering if you know much about and how it might impact you, that HB 144 that the state passed this year about senior citizen service districts. And if you don't know all the ins and outs of this, that's totally fine.
Absolutely.
I am just curious if you do know, if you see any future impact positively on being able to bring in some additional revenues.
So I think that kind of goes up and down. So we have actually somebody that works with the group of senior project directors in Wyoming, and she actually goes and we get the lowdown on what happened in all those meetings. And the deal with the senior districts is there's 6 counties in Wyoming that have it, and that's it. And so I think when they're focused on those 6 counties, if this is the piece that we're talking about, I think it really highlights the differences in all the counties and how senior centers fit into each county. Some are county-owned buildings, some the county owns the senior center, sometimes it's the city, some of them are on mill levies, and those senior districts that are operated in those 6 counties then open up and ask for tax money, which that's about as far as I know about it. I know that I worry about the funding that's coming from both general fund, because we hear every year they're wanting to cut the WISE program, which was the Wyoming Home Services program that we reluctantly had to give up, because it was always a threat that it was going to end, and it's really hard to find staff that but wants to stay around knowing that they may not have a job in 6 months. And hard for us also, we couldn't support that program, it was really expensive, but those funds come out of there. Now they're looking at WSSB funds, which is a significant piece of our state funding as well. And so I don't know, I'm optimistic because you have to be, because there's so many people that are coming to the age of needing these services that we really do have to pay attention. But it's something that I certainly didn't know anything about until I started looking at the differences really in how the centers are funded and how that works throughout the state. And it's just not, it's all over the place.
Thank you.
All over the place. Sure enough, you guys, anything else?
Commissioners, councilors, any other questions?
No, I just have a comment, Jan.
Yes.
As a Meals on Wheels driver for about 15 years, I appreciate that a lot of our recipients of these meals are unable to come into the center. And so you still recognize them. I remember delivering Christmas gifts as well as
Yep.
Valentine's Day flowers or cookies and all, and that means a lot to them, especially when they can't make it in. But they still are
Absolutely.
part of
The celebrations, and no, absolutely. Well, and Sue, and it really helps to have fabulous volunteers like you too. I mean, we had like 8,000 hours of volunteer work last year by 156 volunteers. So these guys support that. We could not support to pay for that program to be delivered. I mean, you couldn't. So it really does. It's a meaningful service, and volunteers are much appreciated, and our patrons are fabulous, and there's always, you learn so much about them. Sometimes what you don't want to know, but at the same time you learn. And they know somebody cares. You're checking on them every day to make sure they're up. And so, yes, so thank you guys so much. I'm going to leave little cards with you guys just to remind you of our numbers from last year, because I know you guys are hearing a ton, and I appreciate the extra time that I've taken. And is there anything else you guys want to know?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Pass along a happy birthday to your 97-year-old client from us, please.
Thank you.
Next up is Family Promise of Albany County.
Can I jump down?
Hi, it's my first time doing this in person.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So, Family Promise of Albany County, we help families experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of experiencing homelessness achieve sustainable independent housing through a community-based response. So we work with our local nonprofits as well as our community of churches to keep families housed. But first, our request is for helping with our fundraising efforts. We host our annual Promesa Gala every spring. And that accounts for a pretty large percentage of our funding, as well as additional marketing and outreach. So currently, just an update at where we're at. With our shelter program, we're housing the hotels, working with families, on their initial intake, as well as helping them get into a place, keeping up with them for up to a year, just to make sure that they are maintaining sustainable independence. We host a 82% graduation rate for our shelter families, as well as, so for our prevention program, and this is really what we've been emphasizing for the last few years. Since 2021, the number of folks we've helped through our prevention program has more than doubled. And then since last year, our numbers have doubled, or more than doubled once again. So it's been great that we've been able to keep up with helping folks with prevention. So we've started to expand our prevention program to help with diversion services. So just to avoid the trauma of experiencing homelessness, we're coming at people at a time in their life when they might be at their lowest point. So if we can avoid putting them in our shelter program and get them into sustainable housing that they can afford, then that's what we want to do. So that's what we're trying to do with our diversion services. And then with our stabilization program, it's what we've been doing before, but a more formalized program to maintain our families in sustainable independence through their own independent housing. And we can help with these families with budgeting, with employment training, resume building, and folks in our shelter program, we provide 100% of their meals through primarily churches, but also community partners like Laramie Soup Kitchen as well. And yeah, we've really liked to promote our prevention program. Costs are going up and up, but we've been able to keep up with that. Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to, let me know.
Great. Commissioners, councilors, any questions? Councilor Richardson?
One.
You're all right.
I'm just curious if you, curious if you feel like there's enough sustainable, affordable housing to meet the needs of the clients that you have.
Yeah, so honestly, it's been pretty difficult the last year. We've really had to work with landlords and property management groups a lot more directly than we were before, just to make sure that we can help our families get into housing. But folks in our shelter program have been staying in our program longer just because the housing isn't available like it was. Rent has obviously increased pretty dramatically. But once we can get a family into a unit, and really meeting with these property management groups has helped quite a bit, but yeah, it's difficult, definitely.
Any other questions, council, commissioners? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Next up, Home on the Range. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to see all the shiny faces in person finally after a great absence. I'm Pam Brecken, and I am with Laramie Home on the Range. And most of you know about us, but for those of you that don't know about us, we are Laramie and Albany County's first and only farm animal sanctuary. We currently are home to 22 neglected, abused, and abandoned animals, and that includes 3 horses, 5 ponies, 7 donkeys, 4 goats, 2 sheep, and a kitty. And we are increasing our request this year by $500 to help fill the gap of the increased feed costs over the last couple years. And for 11 years, the Laramie community has really stepped up and allowed us to grow and fulfill our mission statement, which is to return abused, neglected, and abandoned animals to sound physical, social, and emotional health while providing a forever home for them, along with working with community organizations and individuals to enhance the well-being, sense of purpose, and self-worth for all of their members. 2022 really encapsulated our mission statement. Sadly, we lost 3 of our family members this year, 2 goats and a little kitty, and that's the bummer thing of working at an animal sanctuary. You have to let them go sometime. But everybody else will live there for the rest of their lives. We did add 2 animals that otherwise would have just been discarded due to some of the physical challenges that they had. One of them was Dolly, and she's a big Suffolk sheep who was headed to the auction, which is not a good thing for animals, because she could no longer produce enough milk for the lambs at the site that she was at. So now she's at home on the range and just happy and being a sheep hanging out, no expectations or anything. We also took in Bambi, who was a 17-month-old Nubian goat, and he had been butted by a ram in his herd where he came from. When he arrived, he was very thin. He was unable to stand or even turn over from side to side. So after months of good diet, supplements, physical therapy, massage therapy, and one of our volunteers was a University of Wyoming engineering student. She actually built a buggy contraption for him that we could eventually harness him in and help him stand up and build muscle and get stronger and whatnot. And the happy news now is that Bambi is living his best life. He's up walking around, romping around with Dolly and the other sheep. So that just kind of shows how we can save animals that otherwise people wouldn't care about. And we also collaborated with some agencies in the community to help grow the sanctuary this year. We needed a storage shelter, so cadets from Wyoming Cowboy Challenge came over and constructed that. And then we had some funds from the First Interstate Bank commitment to community volunteer mini grant, and folks came out in the pouring rain and put siding on the building for us. And then that followed up with kids from UW Big Events that were fraternity brothers that came and weathered, proofed it, and painted it. We also used volunteers from Wyotech to build a wind shelter and expand the barnyard, and we used funds from that were granted to us from the Wyoming Community Foundation. So your funding will help us buy feed and all the other funding and whatnot that we work throughout the year to help us continue our goal. We hosted many visitors in 2022, including Laramie folks, and we also had some out-of-state folks, including from Colorado, New York City, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Arizona, and they came up and hung out with animals, and then they also contributed to the economic development of Laramie by staying over and eating the great food here. So in conclusion, we really are a unique entity that offers opportunities that aren't available anywhere else in Albany County. And we believe in the mental health benefits of working with animals and the therapeutic and rehabilitative properties of that. And we know mental health is very important nowadays. So we really believe that we rescue animals at home on the range. The animals prosper by interacting with the people. People prosper by interacting with animals and lowering their stress and getting good mental health. And everyone's souls are healed. And we all know that happy people are more productive people. And we're really honored and humbled to be part of that circle connection in this community and bring people and animals together. And we appreciate your funding. So if you have any questions or you want to come out and visit the animals or the new donkeys or see Bambi, the amazing walking goat, let us know. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Pam. Any questions? Councilor Gabriel.
Pam, I was just curious about past facilities. I know you had some challenges.
We did.
I remember one year, I think the entire area was destroyed by fire.
Yep, so we have moved now we moved to our new location in 2019. We're at another location, then we had to move. We moved to our new location in 2019. The caregiver was living out there in a trailer. The trailer burned in 2020, and then the community stepped up and we raised funds, and eventually we got the community center up and running in the summer of 2021. So now we have a facility out there where the caregiver lives full-time, and we have volunteers and visitors come out. Now we can provide them a place after work days to have lunch and get out of the sun, take restroom breaks and whatnot. So that was a huge community partnership that helped us get there.
That was my question, just to see what kind of stability that you guys had now.
And at our place that we're at now, we actually brought in water, sewer, and power to the leased land that we're on now. When we came, it was just bare land. So through the last 4 years, we've brought facilities and the community center there. Anything else?
Pam, a couple of questions. First one, you obviously have a lot of volunteers, not only caring for the animals, but you talked about the various things that have been built by volunteers. How do you go about soliciting donations and fundraising then?
Well, it's never ending. We have a lot of fundraising events throughout the year, raffles, we do bulb raising, we participate in WYO Gives and on Giving Tuesday. Like I said, we've written several grants and gotten them. We also do a lot of events. We do open houses, we do the farmers market, we do the city health fair. We do the back to school bash with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We have a Facebook page that we're always asking for volunteers and whatnot. And then we work directly with Wyotech, we always ask them for volunteers. And then we also have visitors from Cathedral Home and ARC Services and private counselors and therapists that will bring clients out to do volunteer work, groom the animals and whatnot. So that helps a lot. And then we have a core of dedicated volunteers that come out and help muck stalls and clean up and all the fun stuff about having 23 big animals.
So at these events then that you put on, you have like a big bucket for donations sometimes? or-
Sometimes we do, yeah, and we have information about opportunities to volunteer. And for instance, in February, I believe, they had the volunteer fair up at UW, where nonprofits and community organizations were there. And so I tabled at that, and we had several groups contact us, and through that we've gotten a couple volunteers, student volunteers through that. So we're just always out there, asking for volunteers and donations, and like I said, selling raffle tickets and wreaths and bulbs and whatever else we can come up with. So if you have any fundraising ideas, also let me know. So,
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
No.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Next up is the Downtown Clinic.
Switch your hats.
That's pretty cool. I used to have to go around. Mayor Harrington, members of the City Council, commissioners, county elected officials, and city staff and county staff, thanks. It's really good to be here. I'm Pete Gosar of the Downtown Clinic. For those of you who are not familiar with the Downtown Clinic, we provide free services to people experiencing poverty without health insurance, homelessness. It's a really horrible business model, but an amazing community model. We give away services. And I think that's really an impressive thing to say for this community. When we belong to the National Association of Free and Charitable Clinics, we are, if not the smallest community that has a free clinic, we are right next to it. And it says everything about our community. We get our mental health and our primary care, our nurses, our social workers, all from the community, and they're mostly volunteers. Over 4,000 volunteer hours, but that is just not mental and physical health people. Those are community volunteers. The request for you in front of you is for our pharmacy program. We do about 4,000 prescription medicines completely for free to nearly 400 clients. We have, for the first time in my history and the history of the clinic that I can find, quantified the impact of our pharmacy program. Those prescription medicines, along with our patient assistance program, is over $600,000 of health care just in prescriptions to this community. All of those services are provided by less than $50,000 in stock bought at wholesale. At internet charitable pharmacies that gift to the Downtown Clinic, and that includes the staff time for our pharmacy intern. So it's a 12-to-1 return on investment. But for us, that doesn't really matter. I think there's some people who care about the return on investment. We think about people. And for us, every day we start with the idea that everybody is valuable, everybody deserves care, and everyone can help. And the number one reason people don't take their meds is because of poverty. That is shocking, stunning, and it cost us all in people who feel worse, people's conditions continue to deteriorate, and unpaid trips to the emergency room or extended stays at the hospital. For us, I think we want to build a clinic that we would put our moms in, that we would send our brothers and sisters to. Maybe not all of our brothers and sisters, but a place where it's a place that we would like to be. We live in a world that is outside the healthcare industry. Thank goodness we can spend more time with people. We don't believe in 15-minute appointments. Who does? We think relationships are important. We think mental health is primary care. Sometimes a person will come in for diabetes and we'll just walk them down to social work, because does it really matter if you're diabetic if you don't have a home tonight? And so social work can be primary care for us. We think food is medicine, and sleep is medicine, engagement is medicine, and moving in the rec center is medicine. And so we're able to touch different pieces of a person's health care. We're super excited in this coming year to move into the mobile healthcare space. And you'll be seeing a van that was a nationwide grant program to move to people who can't come to us, whether it's because they don't have reliable transportation or their mental health is such that they can't leave their homes or their beds or their bedrooms. I'm really excited about that program, and I think that's about it. If you had anything else, I'd be more than happy to answer any question that you'd have.
Thank you, Director Gross. Are any questions? Councilor Doherty.
I was wondering I remember you telling me about like being able to provide oxygen and things like that. Is that part of the prescription thing, or is that another whole category? Being able to provide oxygen tanks for people that need supplemental oxygen?
Yeah, that is outside the pharmacy program, but also part of our sleep apnea, medical oxygen program that was developed by a volunteer. And so we take, with a respiratory therapist, people's cast-off CPAPs or AutoPAPs, or if they need to switch one out as a Medicare that it's still operational, we'll repurpose those and get those to people, making sure that they adequately work. And then we do some testing for them to make sure that we have the right amount of oxygen reaching them at night or during the day. So it's a really cool program. And I think it was started with $5,000. I think the last time I checked, we had 35 people that have their oxygen needs met immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions, Commissioners?
Yeah.
Councilman?
Pete, will the pharmacy program extend to the mobile service?
Yeah, I think that we have great dreams of grandeur with the mobile program, not only pharmacy, but we're thinking about food. And so Ted and Josh, sorry about introducing you to the idea tonight, but we're thinking about grabbing some food from you and going remote, because I think it's really important to meet every need and not just those needs that we all think about with primary care. And so we'll be traveling with a social worker, we'll be traveling with a nurse and maybe a mental health, and we'll mix it up sometimes to give people a safe space to meet, but then also try to meet their needs.
Any other questions, Council Commissioners?
Thank you.
Next up is the Laramie Foster Closet.
Hello, good evening. I'm Alan from Laramie Foster Closet.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been a little time since we've been here. So for those that don't know, Laramie Foster Closet started about 7 years ago, serving Laramie and surrounding areas with children in foster care and their foster families, basically taking donations from the community and giving them back out to anybody that may need them. We're about 2 years into a new project called Cody's Closet, and we've actually expanded that into all ACS D1 school system. So we actually stock a lot of the schools with clothing and shoes and socks and underwear, things that they specifically need, when they see needs arise for their students. And then they can actually contact us with special requests, right? So if it's something that they don't have and a specific child has a need, they contact us, call, text, email, anything like that, and they reach out to us, and we basically pack up duffel bags, 10 days worth of stuff for whatever they need, and drop it off to the school, and whoever requested it, whether it's a school nurse, a counselor, anybody that really requested it, we just drop it off with them and they give it to the child. Don't make a big deal out of it, just pass it along and they take it home and it's theirs. And so that project has really taken off. I think there's 2 schools that we don't help, just because maybe they don't see a need, but we're still checking with them from time to time to make sure that, no needs has risen. like Snowy Range Academy, they have, mostly uniforms and stuff like that. So, but last year we served over 632 students, all of last year. And we continue to work with the schools and other nonprofits here in the community. Just, it's not just about foster kids anymore. It's about kids in need, whether they're in preschool or whether they're in high school, it doesn't matter. If we don't have it, we reach out to the community, and Laramie is very awesome and generous, and they give a lot. So that's, just amazing to be a part of that, because we do have some bigger gentlemen in the high school sometimes that have like a size 14 snow boot that they need or something like that, and that's not necessarily something that we have. So it's nice to be able to reach out and have the support of the community to be able to help with those things. And the part of the funding that we're asking for is for shoes and snow boots. We've done a really good job with doing winter gear drives this winter, and we've gotten a whole bunch of snow pants and jackets and things like that, but snow boots is still something that we struggle with big time. Sometimes when we get them, they're not in the best shape, and we can't really pass them along. If they're like my kids, they kind of wear them down till they're next to nothing, so we can't really give them out to be reused. But that's part of our request that we're asking for this year. I think that's pretty much it for me. If you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Thank you. Commissioners, council members, Councilor Doherty.
I just want to thank you for reaching out to this. I think it was a brilliant idea how you started the Cody's Closet and reach out to the schools. And just warms my heart that Laramie is the kind of community that makes it work. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions? Okay.
To follow up with that, I do want to say I've been able to have some pretty big conversations with some of the counselors and people involved with the school, and just knowing that they've been going out and buying stuff for kids themselves for so long, I feel very grateful just to be a part of it and be able to help them in that way, because it is a big need that, I didn't realize until we started asking questions. So that's definitely, we're very happy to help and be in this position. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Laramie Interfaith. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, members of council. I am Josh Watanabe. I am the director for Laramie Interfaith. Our mission is to work alongside our partners to prevent and alleviate homelessness and food insecurity. To do this, we focus primarily on financial assistance for rent and utilities, as well as, she's putting that on, as well as providing a public pantry to the community here, as well as helping to supplement the town of Rock River with a pantry and town hall. So our big news last year, with the help of the city, we were able to complete the construction of 2,000 square feet of extra primarily pantry space. We have a conference room and an office, but the majority of the space is for storing food. We have a walk-in freezer and a walk-in cooler now, which allows us to, I get to do this too. Wow. It allows us to bring in just a lot more food for the community. We know that, with all of our forces combined and the other agencies here, we can always use more food. So, that didn't work. This one? Okay. In our current situation, the economic situation right now, though, this is always, and probably always will be, more difficult. Year over year, we are looking at a 30 to 60% increase, depending on which metric we'd like to look at. More new people are coming to us. More people that we have not made contact with before are coming to use the pantry. And those people that have used our pantry in years past are coming more often, more frequently, and more times throughout the month. At the same time, we know that the state of Wyoming's emergency rental assistance program is also going to be ending very soon. This program, through the combined efforts of individuals, the agencies in town, Laramie Interfaith included, has brought in just about $6.5 million in housing aid. That will completely disappear. There is nothing to replace it. Folks will still be in need, and we won't have the resources necessarily to do that. This has impacted some of our other federal grants, one of them being the Emergency Solutions Grant. Over the past 2 years, we have worked this grant through a variety of means, one being a direct grantee, others working through the Homeless Collaborative. This grant has brought in anywhere between $30,000 to $100,000 into the community each year. That's not available to us this year as well. So, as always, the need increases, our challenge increases, and we'll continue to do what we can. In addressing what we can do, this thing is really fidgety. Oh, there you went. Okay. One of the things that we'll be moving to is to launch a 90-day program that right now we're calling STEP. I've talked to, I think, council, at least at minimum a couple years ago before ERAP came out about this program. But what we'll do is we'll take members of the community who are motivated, who want extra time with us, extra skill building, and we'll have workshops where we'll be able to bring in folks from the banks to do financial planning. We'll bring in workforce services and community places like Express Employment to help do resume building, how to apply for jobs, how to work the Wyoming Workforce website. We'll be bringing in our partners. I think our first one is going to be with VOA on how to access mental health services. And so we'll be connecting people with more resources to help get them on that road towards self-sufficiency. For us in this program, a win would be an individual who is ready to now go apply for Climb or apply through Workforce for their Single Dads program. So we're really looking at building those essential skills that can transition them to the next step. And that's all I've got. So be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Looks like the clerk might be having trouble with Zoom, so you might give her a pause.
Oh.
No, it's good. Okay.
Thank you, Claire.
We're trying to get the timer, Mayor.
Oh,
We're on the
cool.
same time, but it's not liking the timer on the presentation.
Sure.
So,
Hopefully I didn't go over time.
I'm sure you're fine. Yeah, we're always learning new things about Zoom here at the city. Councilor Richardson, then Councilor Gabriel.
Just a quick question, Josh. Is the Emergency Solutions Grant part of the ARPA dollars that whole, or was that something previous? Why is that one going away? I guess that's my question.
It's not going away. It's just not something that Interfaith will have access to. The amount is, it's a block grant that comes through the state of Wyoming.
Thank you.
It's gone down for reasons? I assume it's because of the ERAP program and the ERAP dollars that's gone out, but you know, things at the federal level are too many steps away from me. So
it's a diplomatic way to say that. Councilor Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. Josh, I was approached by an individual a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday afternoon. She wanted to get to Casper. And she asked me if I had any money. I had a credit card. So I said, nah, you know, it's kind of difficult on a Saturday afternoon. But I said, why don't you contact Interfaith? Is that the right thing to do? Could you handle, you know, some help with a bus ticket for that individual to get to Casper?
That's a complicated question. Yes and no. I do have, my phone number is out with the Sheriff's Office, Emergency Management, as well as LPD here and dispatch. And in emergencies, you know, I help work with folks. Directly to the bus ticket question, no. The Greyhound runs one direction. It goes to Cheyenne and then it goes down to Denver. we're not able to get bus tickets for people who need to go to other places. We had a member who was getting released from the hospital who needed to go to an inpatient facility, I think in Sheridan, and that bus ticket was going to be about $600. It took 4 days and went through 6 states just to sort of weave its way around. It's not efficient or affordable.
Any other questions, council, commissioners? Okay. Thank you, Josh. Laramie Reproductive Health is up next. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Hello, community members, chairman, commissioners, Mayor Harrington, and council members. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you tonight. My name is Janelle Anderson, and I'm the Executive Director for Laramie Reproductive Health Clinic, known as LRH. It is our mission to provide compassionate, preventive care and education to the community in a supportive and non-judgmental environment. Laramie Reproductive Health Clinic's role in advancing public health begins with education. We believe everyone deserves access to high-quality health care and to have their unique sexual and reproductive health needs addressed. Currently, LRH is hoping to begin providing HPV vaccinations for patient convenience and to combat the 196,000 cervical pre-cancer cases each year in the United States. As you know, LRH has been breaking down barriers with quality, affordable health care since 1971. We are the low or no-cost clinic in Albany County that specializes in reproductive health care. We provide services such as annual wellness visits, breast and cervical cancer screening, STI testing, pregnancy testing, contraceptive education, and more. I am a new resident to Laramie, and I took this position in July of 2022, and since then there have been many changes occurring. For the first time, LRH has hired a full-time male nurse practitioner to offer an increase in diversity and to serve a larger demographic. We have noticed an increase in our male population coming to the clinic. Appointment times have been lengthened to increase access to the clinic, and we're working on extending our Saturday appointments as well. We are involved with UW to offer free feminine hygiene products to local schools and communities to give those resources to low-income individuals that can't afford those products. And we're ever expanding our sliding fee scale to provide essential healthcare services to the community. The City of Laramie's grant request, if awarded, would be used to specifically target cancer prevention in both men and women with this HPV vaccination series. Most of our demographic is 15 years and older, and they would need a 3-dose series to complete the vaccination, and that would provide 10 years of cancer prevention with this HPV vaccination. Currently, we are applying to the manufacturer of the vaccine, which is Merck, and we are also applying to the vaccines for children. But with both of those programs, some patients will not qualify under their guidelines. And this is where the grant from the City of Laramie comes into play. We're looking to provide those people that are falling through those cracks an opportunity to get the vaccine as well. Laramie Reproductive Health wants to build the community by offering more resources to patients and by providing the opportunity to get this cancer-fighting vaccine to our local healthcare center. This would mean that individuals would have the convenience to cover more needs during a provider visit and would be able to set up the follow-up appointments that would lead to more education about HPV overall. So offering this vaccine, or vaccines for this series, would not only advance public health in the area, but greatly reduce the onset of cancer in our young Albany County population. I invite any questions you have.
Thank you. Commissioners, council members, any questions?
Yeah, Janelle, can you tell me the status of Title X funding? I know when I sat on the board, we were always having to be concerned whether we were going to get the full funding or not. How has that continued?
Yes, Title X has been fabulous, but they offer certain funding for certain things, and this is not one of them. So under those guidelines, we have to follow what the funding is for. And yeah, they've been great. It's never enough, as you know. And as our new full-time provider, we're already seeing an increase. He started in January, and the male population in the community has really reached out and said, thank you for, a chance that I can go see a man. And so some people want that, some people don't. So we're looking to hopefully this fall get another full-time female provider and offer both, because right now our female providers are PRN, which means as needed. So they come in as they're needed.
Janelle, but has the Title X funding stayed about the same? Has it increased, decreased?
It has not increased. It stayed the same. Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, Laramie Soup Kitchen.
Good evening, Commissioners, Councilors. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight about the Laramie Soup Kitchen and this request. A little bit about the background, if you're unfamiliar with the Soup Kitchen, is we do strive to provide hot, nutritious meals, opportunities for social interaction, and information about the network of services available to a person that's in need. As many of the other nonprofits tonight have mentioned, is that our numbers are up. Everyone's numbers are up. And so our 5-year average has been 82 people a day with 20,000 meals a year. Last year was 30,000 meals, averaging 122 a day, which actually means that we're serving between about 140 and 200 people a day quite frequently. So numbers are huge. How are we able to meet that need and continue to meet that need is through food recovery specialists. Historically, City of Laramie and county funding has helped support that program, about 50% of the cost. How this works is they spend their morning collecting food from multiple grocery stores, restaurants, retailers, suppliers, commercial kitchens, all over town throughout Laramie. And they have to be dependable, they have to be personable to maintain those relationships with those groups. They're moving about 600 pounds of food per day on average, which means that over the last year, we actually brought in about 154,000 pounds of food. And that is recovered food. So that's another point to notice, is that, or at least a good portion of it is food that is actually being recovered, as in not going to a landfill, for example. The other piece of that is we're trying to determine what the actual value of the food is, which is very difficult, as every time you go to the store, things are more expensive and they're harder to find. But it's well over 3/4 of our entire operating budget. If we were to buy that food, that's the value of that food. So it is critical for us to be able to maintain food recovery specialists. But what you will notice is that our request has not gone up. And the reason why is because these two people work exceptionally well together. And every time I do payroll, I check how many hours they're working, and they are exactly within budget. So I think that you're getting a great deal with the fact that, like, once again, you're only paying for about 50% of those costs. Also, collectively, they're driving 300 miles a month just around town to pick up food. So, but really important program for us, and I hope that you see that as a great opportunity to partner with the Soup Kitchen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions? Commissioners? Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Laramie Youth Crisis Center, Cathedral Home for Children. It's up next. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Council members. My name is Corey Cattles. I'm the coordinator of the Laramie Youth Crisis Center. This is going on my 8th year that I've been the coordinator at the Crisis Center, so I've got to see many of you many times. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We had another very successful year at the Youth Crisis Center. Ted did lie, not all the numbers went up. Ours were actually down quite a bit this year, and that was simply due to the employment crisis that we saw in town and around. Thank you. We weren't able to hire the frontline staff that we needed to be able to work with the maximum capacity that we could have at the Crisis Center. For the safety of our clients, the state has put forth a mandate that there is a 6 client to 1 ratio, 1 staff ratio that we need to adhere to. And many times I was single staffed, not able to get people in that were willing to work those shifts, those times with some of the hard case kids and families that we work with. That being said, we never turned anybody away. If a family came in and they were in need, we would figure it out. And that was staff sometimes doing double shifts, myself and other staff members coming out on weekends, coming out on evenings to make sure that we covered those times to continue to help the children and the families in our community and the surrounding communities. There we go, cool. We did come up, we made and created a new mission statement and a vision statement that hopefully helps with a better understanding that we're not just working with children in this community. It really extends a lot to the families as well. It's a family unit, and there's not one part that is usually needing help within those crises that we see. This year we worked with 98 crisis placements. That was down from 196 in 2021. And again, a lot of times that was just, we didn't have the staff to be able to work with the amount of kids that we needed. A lot of those coming from Cheyenne, Rawlins, Wheatland, outside areas. The days that we actually work with those kids did go up significantly from 2021. It was 6.5 days to 10.5 days last year. Really significant cases that needed a lot more help, a lot more intensive care. We were so lucky to be able to hire a brand new 40-hour-a-week counselor that's able to work with the staff and the families, and working with our newly directed crisis community resource center that then can provide the extended support for a family once they leave the crisis center. We continued to have our group home clients, and those are the long-term kids that we are working with that simply have nowhere else to go. If it wasn't for group home funding and being able to have those kids here where they can attend community counseling sometimes and community schools, they'd be further institutionalized in really a spot that they don't need to be in. They don't need that level of care. They just need a home. And we've been able to continue to give that to 3 area kids the past 2 years. We're still having our ACEs, or Albany County Expelled and Suspended Volunteer Program. It's a really cool program where kids that are facing expulsion or suspension at any community schools can voluntarily come and work with a teacher at the Crisis Center. It allows them to recover a lot of the credits and the grades that they would be missing if they were truly suspended or expelled and having to stay at home. And it gives them supervision and direction. They can come and work with us and not be sitting at home, hopefully getting in more trouble and then coming to us in a different form, different way. So we've been very lucky the past year with the funding that we've had and the support of you all to be able to continue working with those families. Looking at our local funding, and we saw that in 2020, Ivinson Hospital did a study, and we saw that children and teens with mental health issues was one of the biggest unmet needs in Albany County. We've been able to address, hopefully, a large majority of that with our in-crisis center counselor that we work with, and also a new community counseling program that we have through Cathedral Home. We still continue the 24/7 shelter care, respite care. It's a great program where we can allow for those big-hearted people that are foster families and are giving of their home and their time to have a break themselves. They can come in and make sure that the child has a safe place to be where they can take a time off for themselves and really recharge their batteries. So we've been very lucky to be able to continue all these programs. Are there any questions I can answer for anybody on that?
Commissioners, councilors, any questions? Councilor Richardson, go
Sorry.
ahead. No need to apologize.
I am just curious, you said that you are a service organization for some kids from other counties and that sort of thing as well, which is great. What percentage of the kids that you serve are from Albany County? Do you happen to know that?
I do. It was 79.6 this year. So we still are seeing a lot of kids from Laramie and Albany County because the state the crisis centers, the group homes are also state funded. We definitely feel that if we can meet the needs of other communities, we definitely want to do that. We try not to turn anybody away with the understanding that we're taking care of Laramie County kids, Laramie and Albany County kids first. But there are so many communities in the state that don't have anything like that. A lot of our smaller communities and those children need help as well. And so now that we're lucky enough to be more fully staffed, we can open our doors a little bit further to children and families from other communities outside of Laramie and Albany County.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much. Robbie's House is up next. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, I'm really short. There we go. First of all, thank you for allowing me to speak and to apply for this grant. I appreciate all of you here. I'm Debbie Hinkle. I am the president of the board and also the interim director for Robbie's House, and probably the main funder right now, as I have supplied my healing center free of charge for 1 year, and the utilities, because it was so important to me to get this started so that we could have something for people with mental illness that would allow them to have some peer support. The whole idea of the clubhouse concept started in New York City after a bunch of people that were in an institution together and had been released decided to get together and form a clubhouse and support each other. So the whole purpose of this is to bring people together, feel like they have some community, and help them stay on track a little better. But one of the important things about a clubhouse is it's not like the soup kitchen in that they just come in and get a meal. If they come in to get a meal, they help prepare the meal. They share the meal together, and then they clean up after the meal. So it is a clubhouse, and the members have to help maintain the clubhouse. One of the things when we visited the clubhouse down in Fort Collins that they said was, staff members, if you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. So you get the other members to help clean off the tables or prepare whatever. So what we're asking money for is to help launch the meal program. As we visited different clubhouses, that's one of the crucial components. We started out with the art because that was more feasible to begin with and start drawing people in, and it's been very successful. But we still need the meal program to get people to come in. We have had a refrigerator donated, we've had one set of cabinets donated, so we've had a number of things donated, but there's still a lot that needs to happen. We did have an electrician come in. That was $887 so that we could be compliant and not have a bunch of extension cords. We need to put in a sink and some plumbing. There is plumbing that used to be right underneath that room that we're using as the kitchen. So there's a number of things that need to happen. We also want to build an outdoor patio so that that can be used more as an oven. The barbecue could be used more as an oven, since putting an oven in is a little cost prohibitive and not something down the road that we will need if we're able to build the clubhouse on the Thunderbird property. So this is phase one. The big vision is much bigger, and it's a mental health campus with transitional housing and an area for therapists, and then the Robbie's house, and a huge garden. So the garden is in my backyard for Robbie's house right now, so I pretty much torn up my whole backyard and turned it into garden. And we found that people with mental illness do really well with doing things that help ground them and also help them be creative, because there's incredible talents out there. But our emphasis for this is the meal program. We want to be able to charge them just a small amount, and we want to serve them as nutritionally highest nutrition possible. So I actually purchased a whole beef that we have waiting to do, and then we would pay for it as we went when we used that beef. And that's the garden, so that they can be organic. Most of these people are living off of processed food. If you're living off of less than $800 and you're trying to pay for a place to live and also eat, you can't afford much, particularly now. So we want to help teach them how to make meals that are nutritionally sound and get them to have that support of their peers. Because if someone talks to you and says, "Are you still taking your meds because you seem off?" that also has to take meds, it's taken a lot differently than having one of your family saying, "Are you on your meds?" So anyway, I think it's a very important thing, and I think Robbie's house will meet a serious need, but we need your help. So I hope you'll be able to fund it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Commissioners, council members, any questions? Okay.
I'd like to invite any of you to come by. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 5 right now. Please stop by and check it out and see what we're doing. And I am really impressed with all the different organizations in this community that are trying to help take care of the people that need it. It's awesome.
Thank you. United Way of Albany County is up next. Okay. We will then move on. I don't see anybody on Zoom. Do you, City Clerk? I can't
Mayor,
see
I'm not 100% sure who Sunny Madden is with. I'm not sure if there's a specific organization. If there is someone on Zoom with United Way, if you could raise your hand, and we'll let you in the room. The other two are for later presentations.
Okay. Okay. If they show up, we will circle back. We are then on to the next section. We're going to start with common outdoor ground.
Here, I'm letting Ashley Quick in the room.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you
Hi,
for having.
Ashley. Go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on Zoom. I know it adds the level of complexity. So I'm Ashley Quick, and I'm the program and volunteer coordinator for Common Outdoor Ground. And I did send in a presentation. Is that available?
Give us just a minute and we'll have it up.
Thank you.
Okay, Ashley, we are looking at it.
Thank you. We are a community organization providing volunteer support for the sustainability of outdoor spaces in Southeast Wyoming. Next slide, please. Our projects focus on outdoor and public spaces. So we work a lot with things like the Forest Service or city parks or Game and Fish or state parks. In 2022, we had 182 volunteers work 703 volunteer hours over 11 volunteer days and across 15 sites. That labor is valued at over $21,000. And our project examples include cleanup days. We've removed barbed wire fencing, installed wildlife safe fencing, trail building and trail maintenance, and wildfire rehab, and reopening really important recreation resources such as Nash Fork Campground and Lake Owen Campground. These projects increase access to recreation, and they also connect people to their public lands and resources and create a lot of ownership over these spaces, which then leads to, long-term stewardship of these spaces and care of these places. Next slide, please. Just an example, we're a very collaborative organization, so we work with land agencies to determine projects that will have really tangible natural resource goals. So we work with people like the U.S. Forest Service, Pilot Hill, the City of Laramie, Wyoming Pathways, BikeNet, Southwest Wyoming Climbers Coalition, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Game and Fish, etc. And some collaborations that we're working on this year that are geared towards youth projects are Wyoming Equality and Big Brothers Big Sisters. We're trying to build in some more family-friendly and youth opportunities in 2023. And next slide, please. We're requesting $8,000 from Albany County and $3,000 from the City of Laramie, which is roughly proportionate to our work plans this season. The majority of our projects are happening on kind of a county scale, and we're trying to up the amount of city projects that were happening this year. So that's kind of where those amounts are coming from. And if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to take them.
Thank you, Ashley. Commissioners, council members, any questions? Okay. Oh, one moment. Yeah, Councilor Gabriel.
Real quick, thanks, Mayor. Actually, I was just curious. I noticed on one of the slides, collecting seeds for wildlife rehab. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's kind of an interesting topic.
Yeah. So one of the projects that we worked on last year was collecting mostly shrub seeds, I believe, which have then been being grown in like greenhouse settings. And then this year, it'll probably be over the course of a couple years, but this year and next year, those seedlings will start to get planted up in the Mullen Fire Burn Scar. So yeah, it's kind of some wildfire rehab project mostly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, council commissioners? Okay. Thank you, Ashley.
Thanks.
Next up is Laramie BikeNet. If anyone from Laramie BikeNet happens to be on Zoom, go ahead and just raise your hand and we will let you in the room. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Laramie Plains Civic Center. Welcome.
Good evening. I apologize. I'm fighting a bit of a cold. I don't usually sound like the Marlboro Man. So while my slides are getting pulled up, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name's Jessica Brower. I'm the Executive Director at the Laramie Plains Civic Center. I stepped into this role in October, so this is my first time in front of all of you, but I trust that you'll be seeing more of me in many capacities. So Laramie Plains Civic Center is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to conserve the historical integrity of Laramie's 140-plus-year-old building while offering safe, comfortable spaces for education, the arts, recreation, business, and nonprofit needs. Laramie Plains Civic Center is a place for Laramie to gather, connect, and grow. It was built originally in 1878 as the Wyoming Territory's first stone schoolhouse, older than the university actually. And we strive to continue to offer a space for Albany County to learn with and from each other, whether that's through the arts, through recreation, through many of the nonprofits who you've heard from today, or the small businesses who operate out of the Civic Center. So as I mentioned, the building was built in 1878. And its most modern upgrade was in 1937. It was a school until the late 70s and became a civic center in the 80s. It's a 4-floor building, 1 full city block, and 270,000 square feet. And I share all of this to also juxtapose against our small team. We have 3 full-time individuals, myself included, 2 part-time maintenance staff, and hourly help as needed. You may recall that the Civic Center was previously a joint powers board up until 2019, and it became a standalone nonprofit, which is what it is today. So we have a number of community facilities, including the Griffin Theater, Siren Studios, which is the Pottery Studio, formerly 7th Street Studio, the Phoenix Ballroom, 2 gymnasiums, our conference room, and then our communal art workshop. You may remember this as the Wyoming Art Party. We house over 65 tenants. We are at capacity. Filling rooms is not an issue for us whatsoever. We actually have a waiting list. Over 50% of our tenants are artists. So those are performing artists as well as visual artists. So artists who are working in theater, as painters, sculptors, photographers, all of it, you name it, we probably have one of them in the building. 23% are nonprofits, and 26% are small businesses. So a very conservative estimate is the building supports 56 full-time jobs and 60 part-time jobs. So what's next? There's a lot of things that are next. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to talk to you about the project that I asked you to fund. So that is the North Gym and Griffin Theater lobby restrooms. So the total estimate for this project is $88,000. The estimated individuals served are 500 to 1,000 monthly. This varies very much so based on the programming. So perhaps you've been in these restrooms. I'm not going to paint a picture. I'll let you draw on your memory for that. These are our most used facilities by our theater patrons, the users of the gym, whether they're there for Zumba class or they're there for open gym, all of the Siren Studios patrons, the daycare parents, our first floor tenants, many of which are our artists in our artist colony, and our building guests. So these fixture upgrades will, of course, modernize the space, which it very much needs, as you know, if you've been in there. They will be ADA compliant, and they'll be easier to maintain. A huge issue for the Civic Center maintenance staff is trying to maintain this very old building and these dated fixtures. So while I would like to have a polished facility to offer the community, I also would like to have my staff have a facility that's easier to maintain. So here's a very confusing map. But you'll see here where this men's and women's restroom are located. If you've ever attended a show in the Griffin Theater, this is the restroom that you've used. Likely, if you've ever been on the first floor of the Civic Center, this is the restroom you've used. So with the ask, these seed funds will allow us to seek funding to complete the project from our public donors, entities like the Wyoming Cultural Trust, our Griffin Theater renters, as well as the Laramie Plains Civic Center Foundation. So this is exactly what we did with the funds that you graciously gave us in the 2022-2023 cycle. You gave $22,495 combined for our PA project for the Griffin Theater. This is a very high dollar project, which we successfully raised the funds for through the entities that you see here on the screen. It was over $100,000. And I'm pleased to share that we have purchased that equipment. It is sitting in the Griffin Theater now, and it will get installed in June. So I'm hopeful that with seed funds, we can do the same thing with these restrooms. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions, commissioners or city council members? Councilor Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. Sat on the board when it was a joint powers for a number of years, and one of the big questions was the elevator and the upgrade, because an older building, 3 floors, people with, special needs and whatever, they need a reliable elevator. Can you bring me up to speed on where that is right now?
I'm very lucky to, I've been told I'm very lucky, and I feel very lucky that the elevator was in working order when I arrived in this job. So I believe that there was some upgrades that needed to happen prior to my arrival, and those have been handled. And then we have a contract with an entity that maintains that elevator. The thing that's unique about the Civic Center is true to many of its fixtures, and that is that they were built custom to the building, which is really cool history-wise, but really sucks maintenance-wise. So the elevator continues to be a stressor. I assume it will show up as an issue again. But as we sit right now, it's in good working order, and it is maintained under contract.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the Laramie Public Art Coalition.
Mayor, Laura McDermott will join us online.
Great. Thank you, City Clerk. Laura, the floor is yours whenever. We are just waiting on the City Clerk to pull up your presentation.
Can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Hello?
Oh, we can hear you, yes.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Oh, yeah, there you are. Good.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, everybody. I am Laura McDermott. Thank you for letting me join via Zoom tonight. I am actually in Disney World, so the second happiest place on the earth at this moment, the first being the City of Laramie City Council chambers. So thanks for letting me zoom in. I'm just going to jump right in. So I am the Executive Director of Laramie Public Art, just celebrating my third year with LPAC, and we in that time have really been growing. So at LPAC, we believe art is for everyone, and we believe that art for all can really create a better community. So what does your support do? So your support for LPAC directly impacts the creative community members that call Laramie home. In 2022, we paid 39 artists fair wages to create work in Laramie, which is an increase from 2021, where we paid 29 artists. So we're growing there, which is really exciting. We directly invested over $55,000 into that community. And we also developed partnerships this year to really help our young artists in the community to also learn to create, including some partnerships with the University of Wyoming, who their students got to work with professional artists to create work. So really trying to invest in that community, which is really economic development, allowing our artists to stay in Laramie and to continue to create and be paid for their work. Next slide, if you can do that. Cool. And then support for LPAC directly impacts our community. Full stop. In 2022, we had over 400 participants in our free arts programming. Also in 2022, we were able to increase our access to art for our community by including artwork in every neighborhood in Laramie. So we're really trying to get artwork out to every corner of our community. You can go forward a slide. Great, thank you. And we're also trying to include artwork that is a real reflection of our community and who lives here. One of the most important things public art can do for a community is promote a sense of identity and pride. If residents are feeling a stronger connection to Laramie and feel like they belong here, through an art project, that means that we are crushing it as a public art organization. And we've been able to do that through these past few years and really start to fold in community members into the projects that we're creating. So with your support, which has been absolutely fundamental to our growth and our ability to fundraise matching grants, we have plans to complete 3 major projects in 2023-2024, including a new partnership with the U.S. Forest Service, a new gathering place that will include free art making activities, and an interactive artwork near City Hall. And this is along with other partnerships throughout our community. We've also developed a new program stream this year to provide low-cost community workshops that are artist-led, and they have been really amazing. And that's something that we're going to continue to do, allowing our artists, again, another opportunity to create and show their work and then have other people participate along with them. And we are also developing youth programming that will launch this spring and summer, which will be inclusive of some summertime programming and then also in-school programming to, again, help build up our creative community from the start, from a young age. So yeah, art for all, better community is really what we believe in and what we're really striving to do at LPAC. And we could not be more grateful and for your support and the impact that has had on Laramie. I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Laura. Commissioners, council members, any questions? Councilor Gabriel.
Laura, since you're in Florida, have you noticed anything that you might bring back to Laramie that has caught your eye down in that part of the world?
Yeah, we're going to make everybody in Laramie an Imagineer, and we'll really create a good theme park there. I mean, obviously, in Disney World, it's like you're surrounded by creativity and interesting things, and surely art here was the major economic factor for basically all of Orlando, Florida, right? So it's based all off of an artistic idea, which was Mickey Mouse. So art has the opportunity to really impact communities in incredible, incredible ways if we allow it to.
Thank you, Laura. Councilor Pierce, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thanks and echo that comment related to economic development. It is truly a huge opportunity, a creative opportunity in our community to further our economic development with art. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only just...
Go ahead, Laura, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I thanks for that comment. No, for sure. Not just, like we've said, the direct economic impact that we're having on just our artistic community. It really is a tourism driver. It is a community pride driver as well, which all adds up to economic impact and building a better community here.
Commissioners, council members, any other questions? Okay, we'll let Laura get back to her vacation. Have a good time.
Thank you, everybody.
Pilot Hill is next. Welcome, Sarah.
Good evening, Mayor Harrington, Commissioner Kosar, council members and commissioners. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm here to talk about the wonderful community partnership that has resulted in the Pilot Hill Recreation and Wildlife Habitat Management Area. I'm hoping that all of you will take just a moment to see these two young Laramie citizens who were out on their very first day on mountain bikes on Pilot Hill this summer, and they were proud to tell me that. The Pilot Hill project, as you know, was a dream come true for our community. This is 11 square miles of open space park that we now have here in the Laramie area to benefit our community in a variety of ways. It's year-round, accessible for everyone in our community for health and mental stability. It helps volunteers and businesses engage and really strengthen their regional ties to our community, recruit employees, and expand their businesses. And it's really proactive community planning, and it's been recognized as such by the state of Wyoming and by our other stakeholders. The property itself, as you know, was a combination of agreements. We're a nonprofit organization, and on that governance board, we have representatives from the city, the county, Laramie River Conservation District with the Aquifer Protection Peace in Mind, Wyoming Game and Fish, Wyoming State Parks, and a variety of community stakeholders that also help us figure out how to manage and utilize this property to its best capacity. Last year, we had over 150,000 visits to the property, so it's really being loved to death. As you know, our borders are really porous, so we were able to capture 150,000. I would guess that there are quite a few more people that come and go and don't walk next to the trail counter that we happen to have in different locations. We've completed 14 miles of the 21 miles of phase 1 of the plan. We've removed thousands of pounds of hazardous fencing and trash over the years, and we're about 2/3 done with phase 1. But as we move into the coming year, we want to make sure that the property is truly accessible for all the users in our community and for those that will be visiting to us. This last year, we had summer school classes on the property. We had hosted our first Laramie Middle School cross-country race. The high school and middle school bike team use it. The university has research projects going on the property. Seniors on the Go, Cathedral Home comes about once a week. The city rec department hosted a series of races on the property. So it's really being used by our community in a variety of really healthy ways. We have completed, as I said, about 2/3 of the first phase of trails, but this summer, actually in November, we were pushed off the property, but we were very proud to be able to build our first universally accessible trail. This is almost 2 miles long, and it's a very gentle grade with a wide path, so it's really accessible to a parent that might be pushing a stroller, an elderly person that might need a walking stick or a cane, and an individual in a wheelchair. We'll be adding benches and signage to that this spring when the weather cooperates and allows us to do so. But we're really proud of that addition to the property. As we approach the city and the county this year, we're really asking you to help us to continue to finish out phase 1 of the construction on the property, also to really help with the planning of our primary trailhead, which will be at Willett Drive, and also to help us with the critical maintenance and ongoing needs that the property has. I'm learning a lot about trail maintenance that I didn't think I'd ever want to know, but obviously wayfinding and interpretive signage is expensive and important for people. We don't want anyone lost up on the mountain. There are a number of roads on the property that are used by search and rescue that are critical that we upgrade. Roads that are on the property that just lead to nowhere that people tend to get lost on that we'll need to determine which ones we should decommission. And then as our summer rains come through, there's always upgrading and maintenance that needs to be done to make sure people are safe on the property. As far as our trailhead goes, it'll be, as I mentioned, at the east end of Willett Drive. We're hoping for parking for cars, school buses, horse trailers. It'll include comfort facilities such as restrooms and water for visitors, some sort of shelter eventually, signage, et cetera, and really a gathering space so that when the middle school teams are all there with 15 buses, the students have a starting spot. Again, we have about 15 to 16 more miles of trails to complete, and we'll be doing so with your support over the coming year. We've asked for $15,000 from each, the City Council and the Commissioners, and we appreciate your consideration of this grant. Are there questions that I might address?
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you all for your time.
Next up is relative theatrics. Ann, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Harrington, commissioners, council members, as well as the local elected officials and staff that are here in the room and on Zoom. Hello, thank you. I love this night. I know it's a long night for all of you, but I really think it's heartwarming to hear about all of the amazing work that is happening in our community and to hear the stories of all of these incredibly impactful organizations. And I think that's something that really I take heart in an evening like this is the value of those stories. And that's something that Relative Theatrics is really passionate about amplifying. So we are a nonprofit community theater here locally in Laramie and in Albany County in our 10th year of presenting thought-provoking contemporary theater that examines the joining qualities of the human race. Taking artistic risk, we provide a community gathering place where thoughts can be exchanged about society, culture, and the power of creativity. And we are very grateful to have received community partner funds from the city and the county for about half of our 10-year existence. We have spent the past decade really cultivating and building up a solid core of part-time staff members. We have 4 part-time staff members, including myself, a solid board that are very active and give many volunteer hours to make this work possible. A solid family of artists. Over the last 10 years, we have worked with over 100 local artists and have compensated all of them. Not full of their compensation, only about 25% of their value, but every year we increase that as we are able. And we have developed a very solid relationship and grounding in our community with both those that are patrons of the theater and with other organizations that we are able to partner with, as well as entities on campus as well. And so now, as we are looking to the future, we're really focusing on sustainability and how we can ensure that we are long-lasting well on into the future here in Laramie and in Albany County. So we are requesting funds for our 11th season. That includes 4 productions at the Griffin Theater, which is part of the Laramie Plains Civic Center, which you heard about earlier. Each of those productions gets partnered with a local nonprofit entity in the community as a part of our community organization partnership, using the themes and the stories of the play to incite civic engagement in those patrons that attend the theater. We really use that storytelling opportunity to amplify the missions and the needs of all of our neighbors and local entities that strengthen the fibers of our community. And then we are also presenting 2 readings as a part of our free play reading program, Read, Rant, Relate, Igniting Conversation Through Theater. This is a program that we sometimes do on campus, partnering with the UW Art Museum. We also this year did a reading as a part of this program on the west side at the Lincoln Community Center, and we're always seeking new opportunities to branch outside and get into the community to bring theater to everybody. And then we will be expanding our playwright education program, which brings theater into 5th grade classrooms, having teaching artists throughout the entire academic year, working with 5th graders to write their own plays, ending in a community showcase where 8 of those plays will be presented by trained theater artists from Relative Theatrics, from the university, from the Unexpected Company, and from other partners around the state. So we're currently in Spring Creek and Linford, and next year we're hoping to expand into more rural communities, hopefully Rock River or possibly Harmony School. So if there are any questions, I would love to answer those now.
Commissioners, council members, any questions? Councilor Gabriel.
Yes, and I thought it was interesting just recently, your collaboration with the University of Wyoming. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, so I can tell you, we have been partnering with the University of Wyoming for 7 years with other departments outside of the theater and dance. We have a really strong partnership with the Honors College. They actually sponsor a show every year for us to bring students from their classes into the theater, and then we have teaching artists go into their classrooms, including, we worked with a mammalian genomics class and a play on cloning. And some of these students had never attended the theater before, but they got to see some real life implications of the very technical and, well, I can't understand it, but I try to. I learn a lot every time I research a play, but they learn so much about the real life implications and application of what they are studying. So that's a really great partnership that we have cultivated over the years. But for the last 5 or 6 years, we've been really working hard to lay the groundwork for a partnership specifically with the theater and dance department. So we just actually on Sunday closed our first co-production with the theater department. And it also was a part of our honors collaboration as well. And so that has allowed us to bring more of this professional grade approach to those students, and to just join forces and bridge communities, town and gown strengthening especially. One of the things that they have been very kind in sort of lauding our praises at Relative Theatrics is this community engagement, something that they want to do more of but simply don't have the staffing or capacity for. And so by joining forces, we were able to pool our resources to create a really great production that partnered with Wyoming Equality, with Laramie Reproductive Health, and with UW Honors. And so we're hoping to continue that into the future. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, Council, Commission? Okay.
Thank you so much for your
congratulations on your reception of the Governor's Arts Awards a few
Thank
weeks
you
ago.
very much. Thank you.
All right, on to Science Loves Art.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
So nice to see you in person
You as
after
well.
being behind the computer the last few years. I'm not trying to bribe you, but a few years ago when Science Loves Art started, these kits were just a concept. And we're so excited that we're reaching thousands of children and families. And I wanted you each to have one because I want you to experience what our goal is. Thank you. Each brochure has City of Laramie as a sponsor, the county, and it has the instructions, and there is information on how to get to the YouTube channel, to have tutorials, and learn a little bit more about Science Loves Art. So here's one for everyone. I can pick this up later. So I'll just tell you a little bit about me. It's nice to see you all. It's like we're having a family reunion every year up here. But I am the founder of Science Loves Art. I've completed my Bachelor's of Fine Arts at the University of Wyoming, and I am a retired CPA. So I am like all kinds of brains. But I had this idea before COVID to provide kits to rural and isolated communities across Wyoming. So I applied for a grant with the University of Wyoming. That was a 5-year grant. We just completed our 5th year. And so that was really a jump start, as well as the funding that you guys has given Science Loves Art since 2018. But we've been able to reach not only our initial target communities of rural and isolated communities, but this has grown more into many of the collaborators in the room we work with. We donate kits to their causes, and we support the Civic Center. They hosted our fermentation festival. So we've kind of grown into supporting music. We support live music at all of our functions. We pay all the musicians, and we support artists that come. And we try to provide a free, safe, family community event that you guys help us out with a lot to the community. As far as pollinator, we had our pollinator festival, which we'll have again. We planted a little garden up on 4th Street at 4th Street Studios where we create our work, and also the fermentation festival. So that's about eating art, because fermentation and microbes are a type of art that we eat. So basically, this year, we're going to continue our kits. We now have more than one. This is our main kit. This is Suminagashi marbling. You do not have to have any art skill to do this. It's for ages 5 to 105. The science does the art for you. And so we have received so much feedback from children that struggle, families that struggle, seniors that struggle with hand-eye coordination, just relaxation needs for autistic children, and other communities and groups that don't always have access to art or applicable relaxing techniques that they can do at home. So these kits are done within community environments, but they're also available to do at home. That's really what we're pushing for this year, is to grow our summer camp idea. Our summer camps include at least 5 projects: marbling, origami, bookbinding. We have different ones, but those kits, in the past, we've gone from 40 a year to 80 a year to 120 a year, and there's such a big demand, we run out of kits before we can accommodate everyone. So our goal this year is 500. I know that sounds like a lot, but we are growing our kit capacity so much. We have interns through different entities. We've worked with the Honors College to work with their students, and we have 3 part-time people that help us and volunteers, and we're growing our board. So I'm trying to fit all of this in. The goal of Science Loves Art is to provide art and science to our entire community of all ages through discovery and experiences. It's not learning through teaching, it's learning through letting them explore. They can't do anything wrong. They're gonna make something beautiful. What can they do with that art that they've made? Maybe they make origami. So we've had so many different people latch on to different aspects of what we've tried to provide through our kits. But we also do art workshops. We're working with the Upson Center for their 10-year anniversary. We're going to do tie-dye shirts for all their members, and we're donating our studio space and all the supplies. We're also doing a 4-H conference again for our 2nd year, where we provide free little mini marbling, a small version of what you guys will see, so that all the kids can have their own kit, and then they can bring it home and enjoy that with their families. So our boxes on the front say art for everyone. So that's our goal, is to provide art for everyone.
Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Sure.
We have been selling these online just as a way to create extra money, but we have codes for different nonprofits, so they get discounts or free. Because we're from Wyoming, we have people so interested in sharing these kits as gifts with their friends all over the country, and in Europe and Australia and Japan, and so it's been kind of interesting. Now we're working with Visit Laramie to put little brochures in all the kits so they learn more about Laramie and Wyoming, because everyone seems to be interested in Wyoming. So,
Commissioners, council members, any questions? Okay, thank you, Renee.
Thank you so much.
Winter Lights Festival, Tough Guy Landscaping and Lighting. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I do have a PowerPoint.
Sure, there's just a minute to get it up.
All right, thank you.
I'll do the clicking so I have a job.
While the PowerPoint's coming up, I just would like to thank you, City Council, Honorable City Council, the County Commissioners, for even entertaining the idea. I appreciate the city, and the city has been great to work with, all the different facets of the city to help make this happen this year, so I appreciate that. So thanks for having us tonight. I'm Brian Welper, General Manager of Tough Guys, and this is Norbert Kriebel. Him and I kind of work together on this. So what is the Winter Lights Festival at Washington Park? The Winter Lights Festival is a community event that was created to provide a free outdoor winter light event for children, families, and we like to say this one, hopeless romantics. As I'm guessing, I don't know how many of you attended the Winter Lights Festival, or many of you had the chance to see it. It was kind of hard to miss if you drove by Washington Park. So I guess you already know we had a lot of lights, so I don't have to go into detail on that. And Washington Park brought a lot of light to our city in many ways, and so it was fantastic. So what does the community get from this festival? This event has to be rich as an experience. That was one of the biggest goals, is it's got to make a splash, but it has to be free to all attendees, and that's important to us to keep it as a free event so everyone can enjoy it. Last year, we had the Grinch. We had Santa, thanks to the Laramie Police Department for the police escort of bringing Santa in. And we had approximately 2,000 people at the grand opening. Children were given bells to ring to help Santa find his way. We served Toys for Tots, Laramie Foster Closet, Vital Elementary, and a number of other groups in our community. Next year, we want to do better with a dedicated night or nights for our seniors and our veterans. What do participating businesses and organizations get? We had over 40 businesses who jumped at the opportunity to serve and support the community. It was our first year and nobody knew how it would turn out, but we have learned hotels were proud to point their guests to the park. Restaurants had guests on their way to the park. We had beverage companies, had clients getting warmth for their time to be at the park, different beverage companies. Families had more outdoor activities to take their kids to during the week and the weekend. And something we never planned on is it takes a community. All these businesses had advertising in the park that normally would not have access to, and a lot of people learned about different businesses. What does the city of Laramie gain? This event was unique to the city of Laramie and Albany County. It was highlighted in Visit Laramie, Laramie Live, and Only in Wyoming. We did not expect the level of attention. Next year, we'll be working with Visit Laramie to make the Winter Lights Festival as part of their destination packages to drive commerce to the city and county. What will next year's Winter Lights Festival look like? To bring this all together, these are the things we thought about so far. We would like a dedicated night for seniors and veterans. We will be doing hidden prizes and raffles to drive commerce back to our local businesses. We'll have new and larger light displays, more events to allow families and citizens to be outdoors during those long winter months, more interactive festival elements, and we also want the event to last longer because one of the things so many families have told us when we've talked to them in the month of January is they struggle to find something to do with their kids at the beginning of the year outside and to help bridge that gap between winter and spring in Laramie, Wyoming. And our request for the community partner funding, some of the things we had ideas, I'll be honest with you, this was brought to our attention by the city and they said you should, so we're happy. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a rookie in this whole area, but there's a lot of great organizations, so I'm glad I got to be here tonight. Some of the things we want to add is an enclosed concession stand to help those nonprofits. Santa's Village, Magical. Nancy, thanks for that idea. She had a fantastic idea. We want to do more to help local charities leverage this event. We want to make the event last longer. One of the ideas we had was to have, in the month of December, it'll still always be the Winter Lights Festival, but have more of a holiday theme in the month of December, and then in January, it would be, we're working on having an outdoor ice rink surrounded by light displays. Now, I don't mean that, at first look into the ice rink, we've had a lot of businesses want to step up and help with that. And of course, it would be it's an artificial ice rink, which I didn't know existed until I've been in this. But looking into that ice rink was a lot more than we expected. It was $150,000. We're looking for ways to achieve something smaller and more affordable because this event has to stay free to all participants. So thank you for your time and consideration and for even listening to me talk. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys in our community. So thank you.
You bet. Yeah, glad to have you. Commissioners, council members, any questions? Councilor O'Doherty?
I thought it was such a great idea, and I understand that the hot chocolate sold out the first night, or at least you had to go refill a lot of times, so you brought in a lot of money for nonprofits that had concessions, so thanks for that idea. It's really cool.
It was fantastic, and it was, that first night I credit Matt Lockhart at The Human Being. He donated all that hot chocolate for free. But I mean, we've had so many people step up. We have more different ideas to help local nonprofits and charities. There was a lot of money from the businesses raised that we matched as a company and donated back out. So there was a lot of, when I say there was a lot of light brought to the community, there was a lot of light in different ways. And so it was a fantastic, but like I said, it was, the city gave us the opportunity to, on a crazy idea, and the city gave us let us do it and take over their park for a little bit. But we also had great businesses that jumped on board and gave us their trust. So
Any other questions? Councilor Gabriel?
Just a comment or two. Fantastic. It was just unbelievable. I was told to make sure to get out of the car because I drove by there several times, and it was really, impressive. But once you get out and walk around, it was just unbelievable, really, for Laramie to have something like that. And you guys really did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I know with the cooperation with a lot of other people, but I'm looking forward to even bigger and better because that was really something. I was proud to be a citizen of Laramie and Albany County after watching that.
Thank you. That's wonderful to hear, and that's what we were hoping for, is that walking display, that it's interactive and getting out. So I'm glad somebody encouraged you to get out of the car, so thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
I just have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. My granddaughters love that. And when it's that's where they want to go. And to have kids want to go out at night and bundle up is fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments.
Thanks, everybody. Any other questions? Okay, thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for supporting all these organizations, so thank you.
It's our pleasure. Laramie Railroad Depot Association. Welcome.
Good evening. So my name is Joseph Cook. I'm the treasurer of the Laramie Railroad Depot Association. I'll try and keep it brief. But just to start off with, for anyone who doesn't know, the Laramie Railroad Depot, the main mission is to preserve the depot building, but then also to preserve railroad history and heritage, both in the city of Laramie and Albany County. So just a brief overview of 2022 key numbers. You very generously supported us last year with the Community Partner Grant, and that allowed us to secure a $10,000 private donation to match those funds on the project and then also on a separate project as well. So thank you very much for that support. We've tried to have several public events at the depot this year. Our open house, which is in November annually, got around 800 people over 2 days. That's a little below what we had before COVID, but it's getting back up from what it was. We also had the museum open on most Mondays. It's entirely volunteer run, so if a volunteer isn't available, we can't open, unfortunately. So we've tried to be open on Mondays, and most of them we were. And then we had another volunteer step up who tried to open the museum on Fridays to coincide with the farmers market when there was a lot of foot traffic already, just to get a few more people in the building. And then we also partnered with Laramie Downtown for the train lighting event that happened in December. So those were our main public events that happened at the depot, but then we're also a rental space, and about 50% of our rentals, if not more, are nonprofits with discounted rates for nonprofits, which allow us to make some money, but barely break even, to be honest. The point being to bring people into the depot and support the local community. And our goal is self-sufficiency through the rentals of the depot. In 2021, we had $20,000 in rental income. In 22, $34,000. So we've had a nice bounce back from COVID, but it's kind of hard to fully understand where we stand financially going forward until it kind of settles out and we know how rentals will do going forward. So what we're trying to do currently is restore the bathroom areas in the depot that have suffered from lots of rentals and lots of people coming in and out. And the main issue is that the paint is flaking inside, and so it becomes a health issue as well, with lots of uneven surfaces. So the project is to remove flaking paint, restore the depot tile that is underneath, and then repaint any untiled areas that exist. And the bid for that came out to just under $5,000. So the reason we're asking for money to help with this project, we could currently fully support it internally with our funds, but if we do that, we no longer have any funds to put aside for long-term expenses such as roof replacement, large projects like the continued replacement of the bricks around the building, other painting in the building which will cost tens of thousands rather than 5,000. So the goal would be to match any funds we receive in this community partner grant. We would put aside for large projects in the future so that we have matching funds for writing grants when those needs arise. So that is a brief overview of what we're currently doing and what we're trying to accomplish. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them now.
Commissioners and councilors, any questions? Councilor Doherty?
Speaking of bathrooms, so what year was that depot building built?
I hazard to go on public record, but 1921, I believe.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up is Hospice of Laramie. A familiar face. Good to see you, Jessica.
Good to see you too. Thank you, councilors and commissioners. Oh, I want to make this taller. Or not. Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing hospice and all of these nonprofits to speak this evening. Albany County and the City of Laramie's partnership is so appreciated and felt across the community. And I know what a tough decision this is for all of you, as there's a limited amount of funding and no shortage of good work in this room. Hospice of Laramie is requesting funds for resealing and remarking our parking lot at 1754 Centennial Drive. This maintenance is necessary to prevent more expensive repairs down the road and keep our parking lot safe, especially in the winter. Due to a shallow water table and some flood irrigating that goes on across the street from us, the area around hospice has had some drainage problems. We have appreciated the city's participation in solving these issues with all the neighbors and the developers in the area. But because of this, we need to reseal the parking lot a little bit earlier than we anticipated with normal wear and tear. Hospice did pay to have some drainage issues and a sidewalk repaired 2 years ago, helping out not only us, but the subdivision to the east. Based on several quotes, resealing our parking lot is estimated to be between $15,000 and $18,000, and we appreciate any offset that can be offered by the community partner funding. Because it's late, I won't talk about drainage and parking lots for my whole 5 minutes, but rather some of the good work that's going on at hospice that fills up our parking lot every day. Year over year for the last almost 3 years, hospice has seen an increase in our patient census by about 20 to 25% a year. And this is not a morbid increase in death in Laramie, although we have taken care of many COVID-19 patients. This is a reflection of our efforts to educate and change opinions and preconceived notions about what hospice does and the services that we offer. Our services are not only for patients, but also their family members during a difficult time and for at least a year after someone passes away. Hospice isn't a place where you just come to pass away. We neither hasten or postpone death, but support patients to live the highest quality of life in the time that they have. And we empower our patients to truly be in charge of their own health care and live on their own terms. And as we grow in the coming year, we're expanding into palliative or supportive care that will allow us to provide services for those with chronic conditions that don't have that 6-month or less timeline. We see patients in their homes and also in our hospice house, the one with the parking lot. Staying at the hospice house with 24-hour care allows family members and friends to be just that, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, rather than primary caregivers. Our amazing staff caters to any need that a hospice patient or their family might have, so they can focus on quality time with their loved ones. These might not just be medical needs, but also social work, spiritual care, counseling, or even checking things off their bucket list. The Hospice House also hosts several very well-attended support groups. Our Good Grief Cafe is available to anyone, even if their loved one didn't receive end-of-life services with us, and a Survivors of Suicide group. In the last year, we have cared for 116 patients in Laramie and Albany County. Many of these patients have had hospice for many, many months or even a year and beyond. Several have even been discharged from hospice as they really thrive under our care and no longer qualify or need end-of-life service. In the past year, we have made 4,540 nurse and nurse aide visits in patients' homes and 550 chaplain and spiritual visits. In our hospice house this past year, we've provided over 2,100 days of patient care. And that number means that our hospice house is full almost every day of the year. One of my favorite things to tell people about the hospice house is it was built by this community. Through incredibly generous donations from community members and partnerships with the county and the Wyoming Business Council, we have a resource in the hospice house that is so unique to a community this size. So I appreciate your consideration of this community partner funding to maintain our community treasure. Hospice did not request community partner funds last year. We're in a position, even though we're a nonprofit, that's unique to some other nonprofits in that we are able to bill Medicare for some of our services, not all. And I'm so proud to report that our operational revenues cover all of our operating expenses. And for this reason, and I know how hard it is to spread community partner funding out to agencies that are so in need, we are careful to ask for funds only when we need them for periodic expenses like our parking lot. So we'll hope that you'll consider this as you allocate money that we did not request funding last year, and we exhibit financial and fiscal responsibility not only within our organization, but across the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Councilors, Commissioners, Councilor Doherty.
I got to spend time there this time last year, and just amazing job you guys are doing, and we're all so lucky that you are here in this community so that when we need it, we're there. You're there, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Commissioner Jones.
Jessica, do you see in the future where you may expand to the areas that were built possible
Yeah, there is a lot to the north of us that we have looked at for possible expansion. You know, we want to be really conscious and not have more overhead than we need to. We really try and spend our funds on patient care rather than overhead. So it's a balance.
I thought that in your lot, I thought there were a place for like 2 or 3 more rooms, but I may be.
Yeah, you're correct. If we were to build 2 or 3 more rooms, I feel that we would have to increase our staff, which would really change around our financial picture. Healthcare workers are very expensive.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
I just want to make a
Vice Mayor.
comment. I think your move toward the development of palliative care in our community is very needed and will have a tremendous positive impact. So I really appreciate your vision and all of the work that people at hospice are doing to make this happen.
Yeah, thank you so much for that comment. And to Commissioner Jones's comment, the palliative care is much more at-home based, you know, and that's kind of how we want to focus our resources more than a bigger building. That's really expensive and has a big parking lot. I know.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jessica. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Ivinson Memorial Hospital Foundation. Mr. Guerin, come forward. Welcome.
Welcome to you. Thank you very much. I just have to start by saying I'm impressed with all of the people who are here tonight. It makes you glad you live in Laramie. I'm Bill Guerin. I'm the president of the Ivinson Memorial Hospital Foundation Board of Directors. IMH Foundation is a 501c3. I'm not going to go through the PowerPoint, but you have it there for you. Is an independent 501c3, but our mission is to support Ivinson Memorial Hospital. IMH is a community hospital and one of the top 100 community rural hospitals in the nation as determined by the Chartist Group, and it's held that position for the past 5 years. Thanks to our donors, the IMH Foundation, over the past 40 years, and this is our 40th anniversary, over the past 40 years has provided millions of dollars to IMH for equipment projects and for renovation projects throughout the hospital and making various needed upgrades ways within the hospital. We don't help them buy a blood pressure cuff, but we would help them buy a Bluetooth blood pressure cuff if there was something new that could be brought in medical technology, and medical technology changes minute by minute. Examples of infrastructure projects that we have completed at the hospital are the Meredith and Jeannie Ray Cancer Center. Recently, we have completed, with the support of a very generous donor, 12 new infusion rooms in the cancer center. We've completed a guest house for people who have to come to Laramie because of a loved one in the hospital. We've helped remodel the ICU. We just finished a respite room for people who are in the hospital who are near death and will not be able to use hospice services, for example. So this is for the family of those patients, and we've had numerous other renovation projects. Examples of assistance with equipment: we've purchased 3 linear accelerators. The most recent one was 2 years ago. It is a state-of-the-art linear accelerator. You can find another one of these if you go down to Anschutz in Denver. It is an extremely high quality, very precisely targeted machine. We purchased a new 3D mammography unit for the breast care in the hospital. We were the first to provide dialysis units to the hospital, dialysis machines. There are now 9 dialysis units at the hospital. Both the cancer center and the dialysis unit keeps people off the road for this really necessary treatment that they would otherwise have to go somewhere else to get. And there's numerous other equipment items throughout the hospital in unexpected places even. For example, we've helped purchase food service tablets for patients to order online from food services. This spring, however, we are embarking on our largest project for IMH, and that is helping them expand and renovate the emergency services facility. This is the last part of the hospital that is going to go that can undergo major expansion, and we've pledged $4 million to this project from our foundation. The current facility is about 8,800 square feet with 8 treatment rooms and the nursing station. We recognize that this facility was built for about 10,000 patient visits a year. Over the past 2 or 3 years, they have now averaged 12,000 patient visits in the emergency department, and that is because of community growth. There is some increase due to COVID, but there is also, as this community grows, the hospital needs to grow with the demand. This is a really important project to us. They will be increasing the square footage of the emergency services facility by 5,000 square feet. That will bring the facility itself to between 12 and 13,000 square feet. It will include 13 treatment rooms. Currently there are 8. There will now be 13 treatment rooms, 4 of them with special HEPA air handling facilities for highly contagious patients. We are also going to be refurbishing, you've heard it tonight 2 or 3 times, other patient service areas for behavioral health patients coming into the hospital. The waiting area is going to be enlarged. It'll be made more comfortable for people who are waiting for service within the facility. And we are restructuring the ambulance bay to make it more accessible from the bay into the facility itself. I want to stress that IMH is an uncommonly good hospital for a community of the size of Laramie and for our service area throughout Albany County. I venture to say that most people in Laramie and Albany County have been in that emergency room. I've been there with my children and others over the past. So it is a used area within the hospital, and it is time that it gets refurbished, rebuilt, and updated so that it can serve this community and so the hospital continue to serve this community. This is a one-time request. This is the only time that we have ever come to this group for funding, and thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you. Commissioners, council members, any questions? Councilor Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. Bill, I was just curious. I remember when the guest house was open a number of years ago and how important that really is for people coming. Is that still adequate for the number of requests that you receive?
Yes and no. And the reason why I'm answering that question in this way is that we do get requests for it a lot. And it really does help those people who cannot afford hotel rooms or other kinds of things. But another important thing that has happened in that guest house is that, as you know, medical services, it's hard to get staff in especially rural hospitals. I'm sure that you know all about this. And therefore, we also put travelers, what are called travelers, traveling staff, into that as well. So people who stay in that guest house are providing services within the hospital itself.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Councillor Somerville, I saw you had your hand up. I don't know if you got your question answered or if you still have one.
Mayor, I found the answer in the materials, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions, commissioners, council members? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Last but not least, Laramie Connections. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, I humbly submit that we are not saving the best for last. We were simply the last one to the party. So thank you for consideration tonight. My name is Tim Snowbarger, and I'm the Executive Director of Laramie Connections Center. And I definitely want to thank you for the opportunity to present our services and a request for support. Grateful for this process. This is our first time that Laramie Connections has presented in this setting for community partner funding. We don't assume that everyone is familiar with Laramie Connections, so a quick overview of our purpose. It is our intent to facilitate the spirit of volunteering, expose existing needs, champion the cause of others, and fill in the gaps when and where needed in order to make Laramie a better place to live, to serve, and to thrive. A bit of an overview of our current, what we call GAP services, is that we do offer a free hot community meal. That's a result of other great services in town that are offered during the week that are not offered on the weekends, so partnering with those agencies, as you've heard some of those tonight. Our non-emergent medical and lifestyle transportation, meal deliveries that we provide for the soup kitchen, low-income living services, a Sunday evening faith gathering, and then resourcing for volunteers for any and every community event that might need them. This is an effort to follow the downtown clinic business model, and all of our services are also offered for free, and we're trying to find as much success as we can in that. But the one we want to focus on tonight is primarily in regards to our free non-emergent medical and lifestyle transportation service. Within this service, we do offer ADA compliant transportation. We have primarily volunteers and recently added some paid drivers, and also we are one of the only entities that will offer in-town and out-of-town transportation for needs. This service is open to the entire community with no membership requirements or bias to any individual or person group. We have a collaborative service with many of the organizations and agencies, some here tonight, such as, but not limited to, Ivan Memorial Hospital, Laramie Interfaith, Epson Center for Seniors, Hospice of Albany County Health, Downtown Clinic, Volunteers of America, Laramie Soup Kitchen, Safe Project, and Climb Wyoming, just to mention a few. I don't know about you, but I have always, since I was 15 years old, got my permit in Oklahoma City, have always had access to transportation, whether it was my own vehicle, the vehicle of my parents or a brother, or the moving forward of employment that included transportation to fulfill that job. The value of mobility is critical, and in Laramie, we all know this to be the case. In fact, in the inception of our mobility services, it was February of 2020 that a conversation outside the downtown clinic happened with the question, you have no idea how bad we need more transportation in Laramie. So just a few facts I'd like to just spit with you here today is that in 2022, we were able to serve 1,053 local rides to Laramie residents and transients for non-emergent medical and lifestyle needs of all kinds. Within that, it's a free service provided within about a 75-mile radius. And on average, that service provides about 7 to 10 rides per week. This would include Cheyenne, Fort Collins, Loveland, and other areas within that scope of travel. It is a service that members of our community primarily are volunteering themselves to serve their neighbors. It is a model actually that works, but the needs definitely are becoming more and more overwhelming and real. As far as growth goes, we have experienced about 70 rides a month on an average served by about a dozen volunteers on any given week. I mentioned those 7 to 10 out-of-town rides, and that one continues to increase. In fact, we deny more of those rides than any other rides that we offer, and at this time only offer those Monday through Thursday. The purchase of additional vehicles is imminent in what we're doing, and we have been very grateful that at the end of last year, we were able to raise some funds to hire our first 2 paid drivers. So what are some of the actual needs that we are facing within this particular GAP service? First of all, is our staffing and equipment, that we are looking to hire a minimum of at least another 2 additional part-time drivers. We are in need of purchasing an additional, at least an ADA compliant van to help continue serving that community, with also the need to purchase an additional high capacity vehicle to help double up on some of the rides that might happen in and out of town. We have our service support that continues to need. That's our office support staff, our web-based booking software that we have, vehicle maintenance staff, and the marketing promotion to get the word out more and more. Tangibles that we're looking at is we now have acquired the rental space of a 2,800 square foot vehicle shop space over at 1200 Skyline. We need to continue upkeeping and upgrading the current fleet of vehicles, as well as address those concerns about fuel costs and insurance, the background checks and training. Our request to the City of Laramie is $35,000 and Albany County $25,000. We recognize that overall ask of funding is larger in scope, primarily due to the assessed overall needs, and we recognize that overall amount will more than likely come from various sources. Just in closing out, just recognizing that we have some realities that we face with no public transportation, the availability of current services, some require membership and fees, and also aware that there's a real need. Some of our current approach is concerning, sometimes using emergency vehicles to take those out of service in order to fulfill these needs, recognizing that there's limited individual resources that people spend on transportation, and sometimes they forego getting the care they need altogether. With that, we see a recurring theme working with our partners, knowing and recognizing that there is a great need for costs of an individual having a personal vehicle, and also recognizing more and more the farther the needs extend to get care that people need. So with that, we submit this. We are very grateful for the time. We do believe that we're making a daily difference, but we really want to have a lasting impact. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Commissioners or council members, any questions? Councilor Richardson and then Councilor Gabriel.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate the information. I do have a quick, do you happen to know how many rides you were not able to give?
I mean, that's a great question. And I can tell you on average, based on any given week, because that's just the stats we look at on a regular basis, it could be as many as a dozen rides. And sometimes that's based on last minute request. Our web service allows you to make requests up to 24 hours before the need, but we'll still let you make the call. But if we don't have the drivers available, then we're unable to fulfill. So that's just the local rides. The out-of-town rides is still, literally we could be out of town every day of the week with the need that's there, and that's a lot coming from our partner agencies needing to help get people across. The hospital is pressing big time for us to go farther, Casper, Denver, that area to try and meet needs that are coming in.
Councilor Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. Tim, I was just curious. I see your signs on Sunday for the free meal at 5 o'clock. And I was curious about how many people take advantage of that?
On average, we have an attendance of that of about 40 to 50 that attend based on some funding that we do have that is based on meal count. And so whether it's the meals that are served individually there to people there, the seconds that are served, and then also meals that go out for just people coming in, taking the meal out. On average, we're serving about 125 meals every Sunday. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Thank you. How far out of the city limits do you go to pick people up to take them to whatever they need?
Yeah, right now, how we've had the model set up for before having to move into some kind of a monetized service, which unfortunately we're feeling that may be coming at some point, having a fee. We will go 75 miles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if how that 75 miles.
Yeah. So that has included Hannah a couple of times, Wheatland a couple of times. On some occasions, we have entertained the longer rides to Denver if the need is that extreme. And a lot of times that's working, all of it's working with collaborative partners, trying to figure out the best way to get services to others. So,
thank you.
You bet.
Councilors, commissioners? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we will go to any members of the public wishing to speak on this work session before we go ahead and close it out. All right. Seeing none, I want to just thank the county electeds, staff, and the commissioners for joining us this evening. It's always nice to spend an evening with you all. And then maybe just in closing, you can certainly have the floor as well. But, I think this meeting is a challenging one in a lot of ways. I think it is long. That's hardly the challenge, right? The challenge is that we don't have the funding to fund all of the things. And you hear these proposals and these requests, and you want to support all of them fully, right? Because every one of these is terrific. And so that always is a real challenge. But, I think that challenge is counterweighted on the other end by if somebody asked me what meeting could I watch in Laramie to understand why Laramie is a great town to live in, this is the one. And so I think it's counterweighted a little bit, and I always leave it feeling more of a sense of community than when I walked in. So I guess just by way of a thank you to all of you, the work you do matters, and we sure appreciate it. And I will turn it over to Chairman Gosar if you have any closing thoughts before we close the work session.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Harrington. I appreciate it. Thank you, councilors, for hosting us. Such a great space. Hopefully we'll one day have a space similar to that. I'd like to thank your staff. Nancy, thank you for putting this all together. I know it's quite a deal. And then county electeds, commissioners, and staff, thank you for being here. We have tried to forge closer ties. You being here really does make a difference. So thank you all. And then my biggest thanks to those of you who do the work. I know many of you, work with many of you. I see the work that all of you do. And we won't have the money. I wish we had 3 times the money, and we still wouldn't have the money for the good that you do. You run really bad business models amazingly well. And I can't imagine if you had some extra money what you would do. But thank you so much for the work that you do in the community, whether it's feeding people, lighting parks, creating open spaces, moving people about, having people, their seniors have a place to gather. It does make a difference. 17 years ago, I made a fateful decision to come here. I was in a transition in my life, and I thought, well, this was a place I could live for a while. I'd gone to school here. And I'm sure that your community kept me here. And whether that's a good thing or not, I'll let you all decide. But it has made a difference, and the work that you do is the reason I live here. So thank you so very much.
Thank you all. With that, we will close the work session and let the commissioners go. We have a little bit of business to finish up on our end, but thank you all, and thank you, commissioners.